I'm Mike Wilson. Today here with Johnnie Lackey. I think everybody that knows me knows him. This is Chops. Johnny, introduce yourself.
Name's Johnny, last name Lackey, and appreciate you letting me come here and look forward to having a long conversation.
So this episode of Chops is going to be very car-centric. I think that goes without saying.
All right, you get out your hair. Go ahead, motion. Yeah, I'll do. Y'all need anything? Y'all need some. Wait, we're going to Aldi. We can get you those knockoff Guinness beers.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You tried them. You tried it one time. You're like, these are pretty good.
Oh, that's where they're from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have one of those.
Knockoff
Sure,
Guinness.
whatever. It'll be fun. Have a beer delivery.
You're going to be here.
Alright. Peace, y'all. Later.
If Rico shows up, send him back here. Fuck it. All right, Johnny. So some of the stuff that I want to talk about, I don't think I've ever discussed with you, like way back before drifting, and I want to get into some of that, but I want to talk about maybe where'd you learn to drive? Like before you got your driver's license, did you get the opportunity to do any driving like with your dad or whatever?
Yeah, I definitely did that. I mean, it was mostly go-karts though. It was not. I never had fancy go-karts or anything like that. It was
Did you ever race them? Like race go-karts? Or just
no, never raced.
Somebody's backyard? Yours?
It was our backyard. Yeah, we grew up in kind of backwoods in Gloucester, so we had a little bit of property.
Tear some shit up? Get any stitches?
No, I never did. I never got injured. But it wasn't through the woods. We had fields, so we took the fields out and leveled out a track for myself. Pretty much like an L-shaped track, so it wasn't anything super fancy. But yeah, that's where I put a lot of time. I mean, I did around the house until my parents got tired of that.
So do you think, even back then, what age are we talking here?
I want to say the first go-kart I got, I only had two, but the first go-kart I got, I want to say must have been like 8. So 8 or somewhere around there. 8.
You think
9.
you kind of got the bug then? Yeah.
You know what's weird is I never really had the bug per se.
You weren't ever like, I'm going to race cars.
Yeah, no, I never was. I really never was. You know, I would honestly say it's just an enjoyment. I enjoyed being out there and driving, but I never really had this even throughout my entire life. I never really had this oh yeah, I'm going to be driving cars.
Never challenged a neighbor, nothing.
No, never did. So.
Goes against what I know about you now. I'm actually surprised.
Yeah. So, no, it's kind of weird. I never did actually feel that way. So.
How big of a field was this? Did any cars ever wind up back there?
Yeah, we definitely did. My dad, when I was a little bit older, he would take me to high school because he worked real close to where the high school was. So I'd ride with him and. He'd go out and do a lap before he came through the gate, and I would close the gate. I'd stand by the gate. He'd go do a lap and then come back.
Did you ever do a lap in one of the cars?
Yeah. I actually the Crown Vic. I did multiple laps in that.
So was that your first car, the Crown Vic?
Technically speaking, not technically, but yes, really it was. So.
Okay, I want to go before that. Then, what'd you take your driver's test on?
Well, I think we did that driver's test in the car at school.
Oh, they supplied one.
Yeah. So I can't remember. I don't have no memory of that.
So. I did mine in an '88 Caprice. So I was curious if you wound up in a big car like that. 'Cause we're kind of from the same generation.
Yeah.
Similar background there.
Yeah, they supplied that, and I mean, yeah, I didn't drive anything else before that. All my learner's permit was in a Ford Bronco 2. Once I got my learner's permit, my mom said she had a chauffeur, so she never drove.
the little Bronco, like the Ranger size, yeah.
Yep.
A friend of mine had one of those in high school, and we took it out to the TCC campus in Suffolk, and he didn't realize there was these huge ruts, where the shore had eroded away, and we're clicking across the grass out there where all these guys go and fish, probably 50, 60 miles an hour, and he hits one of these deep washouts, and we jumped that thing, and I was kind of mid-flight. I was like, this is the end. Like you don't live through something like this in a Bronco too, but we did.
Yeah.
Like shot suspension parts and stuff everywhere. But
Oh wow.
tore it up good. So that's my memory with a Bronco too. A few of my friends had some property out in Pungo, and we turned one of their cornfields into a circle track in the winter, like when they weren't planting out there, and we just acquired just junk G bodies and whatever, knock the glass out of them, weld the door shut, and this guy's parents would let us just race these clapped out, like chopped up.
That's awesome.
Some of them no title, don't know where they came from. They were just on the property, and we got them running. But all right, so driver's license, not too exciting. Had to do that in a provided car.
Yep. Yeah, the go-karts, I mean, really, they were probably the start of everything, and I spent a lot of time in them. I didn't really appreciate it till much later in life.
So you got into drifting before any kind of road racing or anything like that, right?
I want to say that I did. No, I did a track weekend before I did the drifting. So my order of events is very backwards.
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
So I started out with an actual track weekend at Summit Point. That was the first car event that I did.
How'd you wind up there?
It was actually a guy I worked with when I was interning at NASA. And I remember walking through the parking lot and seeing a Honda CRX, first gen. And I looked at it, and of course, being kind of a young teenage douchebag in a Crown Vic with V8, I was like, fucking ricer. But, actually, I remember walking by it and, thinking that, and then looking at it again and being like, he's got some tires on that. Like, and it's sitting meaty. And it's got a roll bar in it. I'm like, actually looked kind of cool.
Yeah, what's the story?
And it was really like a 10-second turnaround from, dogging it to being like, that's actually kind of cool, man. I ended up actually working with the guy. I didn't find out till weeks later that it was his car. And then I ended up actually rooming with him in Virginia Beach when I was going to ODU. So we ended up staying at a house together, which was also a stupid situation in a bachelor pad of a place. But yeah, so I went with him, and he got me into it. So I was able to do it on a college budget for $0. You go and the guy that he worked with, he would go like 3 weekends a year, go up to Manassas, and would just do a decisive driving for mostly kids that got their first ticket or whatever. Some people wanted their kids to know how to drive a little better. Yeah. And it was soap in a parking lot, and we'd spin them out and make them gauge their ABS. We did have a skid car with the hydraulics, so you could like lift the car up and cause it to rotate, which was pretty cool. But,
never driven one of those. That would be exciting.
Yeah. I mean, it's all low-speed stuff, but it was cool. But we did that 3 weekends a year. He'd pay for hotel, food, everything. And then you get to go to the track weekends 5 or 6 times a year for free. So that was sweet. That's what got me into like actually driving the cars. Because there's no way I would have.
Did you get to drive the Civic?
The Civic? I drove it. I think I did an autocross with it once with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never drove it on track. But it was nice. It was I forget what Honda motor it is, V88 or something like that.
Don't make me lie to you.
Yeah, an Integra 4-cylinder, invariable valve timing, no VTEC, and it's old swap setup, but it was sweet. I mean, the car weighed like 1,800 pounds, so no power means fast. So
yeah. So now that's what got you started into track days, road course racing. How'd you wind up hanging out with the slip gypsy crowd? So Jordan Peltonen is the guy that introduced us kind of, over the internet or whatever, text messages, not really in person, but how'd you meet that crowd?
That was actually my decision to go out and be social. It was decided that I didn't want to be a hermit forever in every way, shape, or form. So I still am in a lot of ways. But I actually did. I just literally said, you know what? I'm going to go out. I'm going to do something, socialize, an event that I know nobody. And I was like, I just looked online. I was like, oh, there's one in Pungo. It's 10 minutes down the road.
Was that when they did the events out of Blackwater?
No, this was before that, when they were doing them at Pungo.
Oh, yeah.
This is just prior to that.
Yeah. Yep. Blackwater is like just across the line or something.
Just inside Moylan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to be social, and I was like, I need to have more than wanted to know friends. So let me go out and
I don't know.
let me just try this social thing, see what it's like, you know. And so I just signed up and did it. And you know, at the time, to be honest, it was Devon, being the extrovert person that he was. You know, just talked to a bunch of people there, talked to Devon. It's like, hey, we're gonna hit Plaza. You know, come on down. You know? I don't know if you know Devon, but
I've met him through Jordan.
Yeah, pretty much sounds like that. But so went there and met Jordan there because they were all joking about was I having a good time. I was like, yeah, there was that one car. It was so stupid low that the lip was picking up the airsoft pellets. Airsoft pellets. This guy was mine. And there's Jordan.
Yeah, that definitely checks out. Yeah. You can pick his car in any parking lot. Anybody can. Like, just find the lowest thing here.
Yeah.
The least usable, good-looking car. Find it. There's Jordan's car.
Yep.
The Cadillac.
I mean, I would say probably the Crown Vic was really the main reason why, because that, you know, just showing up and doing something is one thing, but I showed up with the Celica and did the Celica, and at the time it was really sucking because I later found out I had like 50% throttle. I was like, this is really hard.
May have kept you out of trouble.
But I went ahead and asked them, and they're like, yeah, you can do that. So I unhooked the trailer from the Crown Vic and took it out there with the ball hitch on it and everything.
So hang on, back up.
Yeah.
Towed the Celica to a drift event.
With the Crown Vic.
What year Crown Vic?
86.
There's got to be a picture of this. If there is, like, we gotta.
I should have wore the shirt.
You have a shirt. That's awesome.
It's kind of stained up, you know. It's old, but
whatever. There it is. Yeah. If we can get a picture of that, we drop that in there. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll supply one of those.
Did you do anything to the Crown Vic to make it tow worthy?
To be honest, everything I did to make it track worthy pretty much made it tow worthy.
Yeah, I mean, the Celica's tiny.
Yeah. It really didn't have any problem towing it. I wouldn't have any problem towing it now, except for the enclosed trailer. You know, the big giant brick in the wind.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what, you just need something. You know. But no, it did really well, to be honest. I mean, it's fairly. I know it's a Crown Vic, so it's not like light, but those 80s Crown Victorias are actually a lot lighter than most people think. They're 3,700 pounds is what mine weighed, and it was fully dressed. So
what did you do to the Crown Vic to make it track worthy?
Well, I mean, a little bit of everything. It started with my dad because it was his car. You know, he got the car and he ended up doing an engine swap. And he did the engine swap due to his boss giving him shit about it. Because his boss...
Scumbagging.
He did. His boss told him, light him up inside the shop on a slick shop floor. And he wouldn't do it.
Yeah, they're kind of anemic stuff.
Yeah. So he went and they had a closeout for Ford employees. So he bought a crate 50 HO motor, throttle body to headers, full harness for, I think it was $1,800. Brand new.
Still a good deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Even now, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
You know? But, he did that and put it in there. And that was also a typical car guy throwdown. He did that swap in 3 weeks. It is different because it was sequential induction, the banked injection. So it's a whole different generation ECU. But he did all of that, did all the accessories, moving all the accessories around because the intake's on the opposite side for Crown Vics from all other 5.0s. And
super convenient. No reason to do it.
Yeah, none at all.
Yeah.
And finished it, and it was running for 1 day. And granted, it's a crate motor.
Yeah.
1 day it was running, and then we did a 6,000-mile road trip. Whole family loaded up and went around the border of the United States in that car.
That's the kind of shit I'm into. You know this too.
Yeah.
I'll just jump in something that we just topped off the oil. Let's go.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, that's how the Crown Vic started. And
would it do a burnout?
Oh yeah, it would do a burnout at that point. It was one wheel, but it would do a burnout.
All right.
But he put cock stuff on it, springs and shocks and sway bars and whatnot. And later on, after I got it, I didn't really do much to it, honestly. I changed out from the hubcaps to aluminum wheels. That was it. And after a while, had some life events happen. I decided, you know what? I'm going to dump some money in this sucker. And so I did. I dumped some money into it. And so I bought a race transmission AOD, and we chirped second and third. It was nice. Stupid, but nice. And I did torsion differential.
That's pretty good in a heavy car, right?
It is. It was way too aggressive for a stock 5-liter.
Yeah.
You know? So, but yeah, I did more spring stuff. I went in circle track springs. So
Is it a torsion diff?
Yeah.
What gear?
Did 355 because it was a commuter.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to get carried away.
Yeah.
Yep. So torsion.
I want to get this info out there for people that want to drift Crown Vics, and let them know the setup.
Yeah.
It's still around, right? Didn't you tell me that recently?
It is hiding in the back of a janky shed in West Virginia. Yeah. Yeah. Supposedly he takes it out from time to time. I haven't seen a video of it in a while. Yeah. But I can't believe he hasn't crushed it because he just goes through and crushes cars. And apparently that's one of like the 3 that he's kept out of the 1,000 that he's crushed.
Did you wind up putting a stick in that one? I
did. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
But that was also, I went to my first track weekend with the automatic trans, and I had a big oil cooler on there, or a trans cooler in front of the radiator. At the time I had the stock radiator, so it still had a cooler in there as well. And it would not do more than 1 30-minute session. So I went out, I did my first session.
Just started slipping?
No, it would actually puke fluid out the front. So it would just overheat and push it out the front cranks.
The vent, yeah.
No, not the vent, the converter, front pump seal.
Oh,
it would just push it worse. Out there. Yeah. It would push it right. I mean, it billowed smoke because it dumped right onto the H pipe. Yeah, and so they black flagged me. Well, I guess it's coming out there. Cooled down, checked fluids, seems good. All right, and then but after it's heat soaked, the next session it was like 5 minutes. Yeah, I get like a lap or 2, and it started puking. I was like, all right, I'll just call it for the day and do one tomorrow and call it good. Same repeat for Sunday, same thing, 1 session. Yeah. And I was like, yep, that ain't going to work. So
maybe a race transmission, but not a road race.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that exists.
No, definitely not. Yeah. That was, bought that off of eBay, and it was also a nightmare. That transmission was also very much a nightmare. It had problems right out the box and did this, did that. And I had actually already rebuilt my OD once before, not too long prior to needing to do this. Yeah. I just burned up clutch pack, took it apart, rebuilt it, put everything together. And I put it together and maybe doing some creative shifting in the column.
Yeah, I was wondering if we were downshifting under power.
doing the 1-2-1 shuffle. So I could get the stock transmission 2 bar second. But the Planetary did lose one of its satellites. So it was a fun drive home, avoiding anything but third.
So after all that hassle, what 5-speed? You put a 5-speed?
Yeah.
What 5-speed you go with?
Just T5. Had one for free. So my dad had to take out somebody.
Is this a swap you'd seen done before?
No.
Could you get a Crown Vic with a stick?
No, it was all home brewed.
Yeah. See, that's hot rodding. Though,
yeah.
So, give us the skinny on that.
It wasn't too bad. I mean, the nice thing is the older Crown Vics, the C4, had the same trans mount location. So the C4 is a shorter trans.
Yeah.
And the older Crown Vics, they had 2 bolts for the trans cross member. So you could just move the cross member. So I had to modify anything there. Use the same transmission mount and everything. Just moved it up.
Just a drive shaft from one of those?
The drive shaft was the same length.
Wow.
You just moved the cross member on the C4.
What pedal set you used?
The pedal setup was somewhat unique, but not really that complicated either. I'm
contemplating this kind of shit for the wagon. So
yeah.
So what'd you do?
So the Crown Vic brake pedal is the entire steering column support. So where that pedal mounts is this giant column that goes all the way down, and it supports the steering column. So without it, you got nothing because the whole dash is just plastic.
Yeah.
So you got to have that column in there with the support. But the Mustang one is basically a similar setup, but they have a tube going through it because the actual clutch quadrant is over the gas pedal. They have the clutch quadrant over the gas pedal and the pedals on the left on the Mustang. So I took mine out, just drilled it out, put the tube in there, and added the pedal.
Ratio was fine. All that.
Yeah. I mean, it was the only thing it didn't hold up was the firewall. Which
did it crack?
I mean, it did, but I mean, I'll admit it cracked way many years later. Like, I never had to address it. The next owner did. Yeah. He said when he bought the car that it went to the floor and pulled it out. And I knew it was coming. I just ignored it.
Had it been kicked?
Yeah. Quite a few times.
Yeah.
But I did that all on the weekends. I did that in 2 weekends. Did all the prep, got everything ready. I did the clutch pedal one weekend because I knew that would be the biggest job. And then I did the transmission the next weekend because I was still going to college.
Yeah.
So I fell asleep under the car on the second weekend. I woke up very cold.
I've done that a few times myself. I think we all have.
Yeah.
Did you do any more motor work to it? Like, as you started, like, tracking this thing, drifting it? Because you drifted the Crown Vics on it.
I did. Yeah. Honestly, I didn't have to do much to it. I did do upgraded rocker arms on it and springs. That way I didn't have a spring failure.
I was curious about the springs,
Yeah, I would imagine I probably would have had a failure at some point. It definitely saw over 6 multiple times, but which is a lot for that, you know.
It is for, a crate 5.0, yeah.
Yeah, so it did see some of those RPMs. Nothing crazy. I'm not the kind of person that generally is abusive on RPMs. It's just not my style. I have like a connection with the machine.
Mechanical sympathy?
It's definitely that. Like it's weird. I had tried many times to do, where you just don't use the clutch and you just shift, but getting it right. And you can do it, and it's not that bad, but you have to be a little mean to the shifter. And I can't do it without making a face. I literally can't. There's just like, you can see this cringe on me every time. I can't do it without making the face because I know it hurts. Yeah. And I connect to that. I'm like, and I just cannot. I've tried.
Sorry, little buddy.
Exactly. I just can't do it. So I'm generally pretty nice to the machine, as much as I use it.
Yeah.
So I'm in college budget as well. I'm like,
right.
I can't afford to replace this shit for the most part. So, I'm not trying to replace it.
Yeah, there's only so many in the junkyard too.
Yeah.
What point did you kind of retire the Crown Vic and start focusing on the Celica as kind of the primary project / race car? One of the things I really admire about you is you maintain a single, like, race car. Like, you have really good focus on it. I don't. None of my employees do either. Like, we've all got like 10 or 12 projects. Nothing runs, but you're pretty focused, and the level of detail you've been able to put into that car because you focus on it is, I think it's mind blowing to people when they see that thing, especially you pop the hood. It's like, damn, people don't expect it. But when did that kind of start taking shape?
That actually took shape. It was part of my mother actually passing away. So when she passed away from cancer, she left me $5,000, and she said, "I do not want you to save this," because she knew who I was, and this is how I became a social person.
Yeah.
She wanted me to like actually talk to people and be a part of society. And
it's kind of weird to hear you say that because at the car meets, like, I see you talk to so many complete strangers now. Like, I think you tend to interact with more people at my car meets than I do. It's typically what you drive up here. You drive your old truck and pop the hood on that, and people are same thing. The amount of work you've put into bringing that truck back to life, people really appreciate. I think just the way you approach your builds, how clean they are. I don't know. People are drawn to you. I see it at the meets. I hadn't spent a lot of time at the track with you, but I kind of imagine you get the same thing there.
I mean, it's definitely a credit to the vehicle. I mean, just being the 1973 Celica pretty much pulls people in no matter what.
Yeah.
And then a lot more so when you show up towing with a 61 F100.
Right.
So it's not necessarily as much, I would think, as me as
you kind of put yourself in a position.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's weird because it's like, I told my wife this. I said, I don't really seek out the attention. Like, that's not my goal. But my goal when I work on something and when I make something and what I want it to look like, it looks like something I want to see. And that's really what I want. I want to be like, oh, that's something I like. Yeah. I would like to see if I were to walk up somewhere. Oh, that's cool to me.
Yeah.
Same thing with kind of when I drive out in public. I'm like, if I do something stupid out in public, I'm not usually doing it because I want to beat some other car on the street. Like, I've been going to the track long enough. Like, the street is just not the place for it.
Yeah.
You can't do anything you want to and feel reasonably safe at all. It's just, once you drive that hard for that long, you realize it's just you can't even get close to it on the street, and you just lose the motivation. Like, yeah, this sucks. There's curbs, there's gravel, there's
pedestrians,
like all these things in the way,
animals. It's the cyclist around here, man.
If I do something stupid in public, it's because I would like to be the guy on the street corner. That's if I do something stupid, if I drift through a corner or a stoplight or something like that, like it's because I would want to be that guy out there seeing it.
Yeah, like, damn. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I want.
A little BMW was getting it.
Yeah.
So back to the Celica. What kind of shape was it in when you got it? Like what engine, transmission? Like
so really
was it caged? Like was it a race car?
It was mostly a track car at that point. He was mostly an autocrosser. And I had my $5,000 budget and I started looking and it was that or a Z car. But the Celica, I did have a little bit of a history with the Celica. My dad did have one. He had a 74 GT and he did a bunch of work to it. Super budget. This was a $50 car that we sold for $500. Yep. So it was super budget stuff, but it got up and went, and I had some memories in that car. But yeah, I focused on that after, it showed up and that was my budget because the Crown Vic kind of killed that. I started doing more stuff with the Crown Vic and then I was like, all right, I'm buying a set of wheels. We're going to do the series. So I bought some 9-inch wheels.
So it sounds like you kind of went through that phase when, kind of not super focused, but you grew up unlike me. Like you grew out of that. Well,
I won't say it wasn't focused because I really wanted to go to town with the Crown Vic, but I wanted to go to the track and I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
When you start tracking something with a V8, you burn $300 worth of fuel a weekend, and the tires and the brakes. The tires probably the biggest one. I started pricing up tires and I'm like, I got to spend $1,400 in tires every weekend. Like this is not possible.
Yeah.
There's no way I can't do it. I'm not paying for the event. So, I can barely afford it at that price,
Right.
So that's
heavy car is hard on tires.
It is. The consumables were so big. And that's what I told myself. I was like, I need to buy something that's more cost effective to track, and so that's why I was looking at smaller vehicles, but I still wanted something old.
It's cool you say that because that touches on something I wanted to talk about with you. It was like somebody trying to get into this, forget the expense of putting together a car that's worthy of going out there, that's going to pass some kind of tech inspection. Like, what are the real costs? Like the tires and the fuel, like the stuff that then you don't get taught that by somebody. You show up and you're like, oh, damn. Like,
well, I guess to clarify for those that are listening, what we're talking about is HPD track days. So you go to regular sanctioned road courses and you run for roughly about 2 hours a day. You run 25 to 30 minute sessions 4 times a day.
What's something like that cost?
Normally, the cost for that is around $400 to $600 for a 2-day event. Usually, it's not that much cheaper for 1 day, so it'd be like $300 to $400 for a 1 day. So it's pretty hefty up there, and that's for the admission.
It's really not bad though, because you think about what you could spend, like if you went to American Indoor Karting.
Yeah.
And you tried to run that kind of time there, like you're probably going to spend about the same amount of money as far as just what you paid to get in and run.
Well, I mean, the engineer in me is why I try to steer people to it and why I continue to do it, because to me, I try to get the most out of everything I do, and that includes my money, except for when it's on cool shit for the car, because then it's cool versus
it's
dollars.
Emotional. Then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But in general, like I worked it out, and it was the time behind the wheel. Dollars per minute is what I've worked it up, and my calculations back in 2008, your autocross was by far your most expensive. Yes, it's $30 to $50. You go do a day. Cool, but you get 4 to 5 minutes of track time.
Right.
So you're at the time, and this is like I said, 2008 calculations, but at the time I'd worked out autocross of being roughly about $12 to $13 per minute. AIK is not that expensive. No. AIK is way less than that. So this is $12 per minute. There are few things in your life you will pay $12 per minute for.
Let's not go into that.
Exactly. It's not PG. But, I ended up working all the math on that. I was like, you go to the track weekend, and even if you pay for that and all the consumables and everything, it works out to like 5 or 6, per minute. Yeah. So it's a lot more upfront. I get it. It's a huge investment of time and effort, but it's way cheaper for the amount of gain that you get out of it. Because one track weekend, and I've trained autocrossers because I instruct as well, and I've trained autocrossers, been doing it for a decade, and they come to a track weekend and I say, you're going to learn more in this one day than you did in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's true. They will make huge strides in their performance over one day, 2 hours worth of driving compared to 10 hours of 45-second runs. It's huge. You have the time to learn.
I always advise people, if they haven't done anything, karting or anything, to go try an autocross or two, because I think it's a cheap make or break. Like, you either can shift under stress and whatever, and you can follow instructions from staff, and you can have your car semi up to snuff, or you can't. Evan's one of them. He's young and had never done anything. I'm like, just go sign up for an autocross with your Mustang. Go do one.
Yeah.
And if you fall in love with it, figure out how to get an actual race car and get on track.
Yeah.
And he's just, you've seen what he's doing. He's just running after it.
Yeah.
I love it. That kid's such an inspiration, man.
Oh, he is. He's a unique individual for sure.
So, anyway, keep going.
So, I kind of lost my train of thought, but
I mean, we're talking about not just the cost of the track weekend, but like the things you don't think about.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm going to get into road racing, and people don't know how often you go through tires. You go through brake pads, rotors. Rotors are expensive.
Yep.
So, and people don't know this.
Yeah, and that also comes with experience too. I always tell people, if you're going for your first track weekend, you're gonna be slow. You're not gonna be that fast.
Yeah.
And it's these, especially, I know you've heard it. Oh no, I drive fast. Like, you might drive fast in your mind, but
when everybody else is doing the speed limit, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're fast. You're doing 85.
Yeah.
So I mean, but the first time you go out there, you're going to be slow. Your consumables are going to be way less. Most people will go out on their first track weekend, and barring a really terrible handling car where they've just destroyed the front tires, usually they will go through and maybe use 20% of the tires. Yeah. So, they can still drive them on the street and everything.
Don't take a stock Subaru out there.
Yeah.
That your first track weekend could be very expensive.
Yeah. Warning right now. There are some cars, the motors just can't deal with it.
You can't track them.
If you get lucky enough to survive one, just go get a ladder ticket. But yeah, I mean, the consumables on the first weekend is really not that bad. I'd say factor in 25% of the cost of tires and brakes for your first ever track weekend. And that's really all you need to factor in there. Make sure all your cooling system's good. So you've got some work to do to make sure everything's right on it. Yeah. Change your brake fluid, because as a street car, you do it once every decade.
Yeah. It's mostly water by now. Yeah.
So, but I'd say all said, prep and done, like realistically first track weekend, excluding hotel stay, because you might want to camp or whatever. So that can vary wildly. But usually about $1,000 to $1,200 is probably a good budget, is what I would say, for doing a track weekend. And that's a healthy budget. That covers gas getting there, that covers some food, and that covers your wear and tear for that weekend. If you factor in about $1,200, you'll be good for that, and you'll have leftover.
How often do you go through tires with the Celica? That thing's lightweight, so
it is lightweight. I drove it kind of hard, so they usually last probably 1, maybe 2 weekends. It's got
like at a big track.
Yeah, well, see, it's actually the small tracks that tear them up the worst.
Really?
So going and doing like Shenandoah Circuit at some point, like you'll burn through some tires there in a weekend for sure. VIR is nice. I can probably do 2 weekends, maybe even 1 extra day after that. Yeah. If I do VIR, because there's a lot of straightaway time. So and the big sweepers, big turns, just don't eat through tires as much as when you're doing low speed, hard cornering, and you're relying purely on the mechanical grip, just rubber to rock. Yeah. So it goes through them hard at places like that. And some tracks are worse than others. Some are better about tire wear. I know it's CMP. I know they repaved recently, but before the repave, that was absolutely brutal. You'd have no grip and you would destroy tires. Wouldn't even make it one weekend.
Where was it Tim was talking about just completely destroyed his tires? The Roval?
That destroyed everything, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like ripped the front air dam off the car, destroyed the tires.
Yeah. Yeah, the oval tracks, I mean, now that I've driven Charlotte, and that's the only oval track I've driven. The Roval there.
Yeah.
It's fun, but it's just too hard on the equipment for me. You just spend my entire time at the top of the RPMs going around the entire circle. I mean, it's a NASCAR track. You know? Well, Celica's not meant to be out there.
I've seen the videos. Tim would say otherwise. I remember when you came back from there, you were like, yeah, I just kept it pinned and the car just kept creeping up the track. And you're like, I'm in a 73 Celica. Is this really smart? And you're just creeping up. And it got near the wall and just kind of hit that buffer and rode. And you're like, okay, it'll do it. I don't think that's for everybody. Not especially in a Celica.
No, I mean, that is the one time. That's the one time. Of all the track weekends and all the stuff I've done, I've never felt afraid of anything. I'm like, and that's been brought up too, like, aren't you afraid to crash or whatever? I'm like, it's not really on my concern list. And I'm not afraid to crash because I'm not.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm not in that situation. I don't drive that reckless. That's really what it boils down to. So in most situations, people talk about 10/10 driving. And I'm like, there's this one corner that's really bad and has zero runoff. And you can drive 9/10 on there and get all the fun out of it without the risk.
Yeah.
You can be prepared for it. But that's one of those corners you don't have a choice on. And there's other places, top of the S's at, Oak Tree, like you're doing 115, 120, like if something breaks, there's not much you can do. It's probably going to be bad, But that was one of those corners, going turn 3, turn 4, the oval, doing 120 flat out, 130 flat out. And you just look at that wall and it's like, if I have anything fail, like I can't do anything but go to that wall.
Yeah.
And it's going to hurt.
Yeah, you're gonna be a gnat on the windshield for a moment. Yeah.
It's going to hurt. So that's the only time I gave pause to it. I was like, it's risky.
Yeah.
But, I came here to go and I'm not going to lift. So, so here we go.
So the engine and everything that's in the Celica now, was it in the car when you got it, or did you do that swap?
No, that was actually in there. So that motor was in there.
Tell us what it is, because I'll butcher it. Trying to remember.
So it's a 22R bottom end with a 20R cylinder head. Used to be a really common build because the 20Rs would flow a little more out of the box because they had a full Hemi head.
Yeah.
The 22Rs didn't flow as much. They had EGR in them, more EGR, more restrictions. But later on, everybody came to the realization you can port the 22R heads more, and so it's an antique thing now. So people don't do that swap anymore. But it was actually fairly built. I mean, he had some Wiseco pistons in it. He had the Eagle rods in it, and he had
still stock crank.
Yeah, still stock crank. Even now it is. There's really, unless you do a stroker, nobody does any upgrades to it.
And I mean, it turns plenty of RPM, no problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, the factory crank is forged, so that's part of the reason why nobody makes an aftermarket one, unless they do a stroker. And the stroker is actually a factory one, just offset ground.
Makes sense.
It holds up.
Yeah.
But it was pretty much that. I think it was like 140 horsepower, I think, when I got it. Is what it dynoed somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
it's a realistic number, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. It was definitely healthy. I mean, it would move pretty well. It would handle terrible, absolutely terrible. It was so bad I wouldn't even let my friends that were track guys drive it until I fixed what was wrong in the rear end. So it had an open diff when I got it, and it was unbelievably tail happy. It was just unbelievable. I mean,
like one would catch and let go, and
you could go down an off ramp like 30 miles an hour, and you'd be drifting it. It was unbelievable how much that car did not want to go straight.
Sounds like a welded diff.
Yeah, it was that. Well, that's the thing, and I got to experience that, because I went through the gamut of diffs and changes to try and get it to handle.
Yeah,
and a welded diff is actually where I ended up for many years. I had a welded diff in there, but I needed an LSD in there, and so I got a OEM LSD out of a Corolla, put it in there, and it helped a lot, but it was the spring rate that was way wrong. He had like 350-pound springs in the rear. So I ended up dropping them. I think at the time was running like a 150 is what I got it down to. And then I got these drag race shocks, QA1 Stalker Star drag race shocks. And they're one knob, but they adjust the rebound and the compression, which most shocks don't do that. They just do rebound.
So is it like a double click or
no?
Or
it's
you just
simultaneous.
Sacrifice?
They go together.
Oh boy,
it's weird. But so this goes back to the bachelor pad.
Yeah.
When I moved in with my buddy that got me into the track. The guy who owned that house, and this is kind of a side story, but the guy who owned that house was a PhD. He worked at NASA, adjunct professor, and he had this bullshit company. I think it was 2G Motorsports. This was his tax write-off so that he could build his own GT40 and his own 427 Cobra and really go ham on it. And he did. It was stupid. But he got a job offer, and he uprooted in 2 weeks. Gone. And so he loaded up his excursion, packed some bags. I mean, first time I met him was at his house. I helped him load his bags. It's nice to meet you. Bye. That was the first time I met him. I'm living in his house.
Yeah.
And there's a GT40 and a 427 Cobra in the garage in this house. Giant stereo system. Like, the whole place was set up. He just packed his bags and left. So I don't know what they offered him, but I'm sure it was ridiculous to leave it with a stranger and a kid.
Yeah.
You know? And I appreciate it. I mean, because he had higher priorities because he paid the bills for like the first year and a half.
Wow.
We kept telling him, like, hey, the bills are in your name. You just send us what they are. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. Wouldn't hear from him for 2 more months. Yeah. Like, you know, just send him his money, and he would never send us the information, you know, but whatever. So he eventually did. We got it all in our name. But, yeah, I didn't have to pay for supplies. He had hose, reels, bolts, hardware, tools. Everything in that garage. I mean, because he completely rebuilt the GT40.
Yeah.
It was stupid, you know. But I think that's all it was. It was just so he could spend money on it. Yeah.
Yeah. What a place to land.
Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was very ridiculous.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I'm sure that gave you, you know, that kind of little bump, you know. It's not like having a big financial backer, but man, that frees up some time and capital for sure to get you out there.
Yeah, that was definitely crucial because it was all on a budget, which is hard to do. You know, that's the other thing. It is as well as I managed to get into it. I would say I didn't pay for track weekends for the first 6 or 7 years. Yeah. So I did it long enough that I was able to become an instructor and then continue to not pay for track weekends.
I was about to ask you that. Like, what kind of took you down that path? I mean, obviously the not having to pay for track time
to be honest, it wasn't that. It was not that. That was not why.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I know that's a benefit, but like, at what point were you like? I think it's a crazy responsibility to take on, and you know, your own well-being. You're in the car, a car you don't really know, and somebody you don't know often. Novice driver.
Oh yeah.
So you're kind of crazy. I'm pointing this out. I think it's really cool. But how did you wind up there?
It was actually NC CAR, North Carolina Center for Automotive Research. It's a track that I go to as often as I can.
I've never been to that one. I got to get to that one.
It's a great track. It's only like an hour and 45 minutes from here.
Yeah.
So it's pretty close. If you can get an event there, it's really awesome. Sam True runs it. It's a fantastic facility. He's an awesome guy. Makes some really good smoked cheese. Very good.
I'm sold.
But I would go there. And so I work at Auto House, and one of our customers, and I guess maybe an advisor to some degree to the company as a whole, he was a member of the board that ran that track and still does, I think. But he came by and he told us, and he's like, because he knew me and a couple of the other guys there, we would go track weekends. He's like, y'all should join this track club. We're trying to start a track club at NC CAR. It's $1,200 for 6 weekends. I'm like, okay, done. Yeah. You know? So we signed up for that, and it was very exclusive, and that's how I got to know Sam. It was just a trial run for them.
Was it good weekends, or was it like July and August? Like,
they were good weekends. Yeah. It was throughout the whole year. It was nice because they were just trying this. This was new to them at the time. They were, and they still mostly are private tracks. So it's really mostly a test track for most situations. So a lot of the times the calendar's blocked out because somebody's doing private testing, like Ford or Tesla or something like that. You know, because it's kind of secluded. They're pretty far off. They have good security. You know, so you can do private testing there and get away with it. Yeah. You know, but yeah, so we did these weekends, and every once in a while somebody would bring somebody with them. Somebody else would bring someone. Like, hey, I want this person to go with me, and Sam would be like, yeah, sure, that's fine. You know?
There wasn't rules like Fight Club. Like
It
the
was-
first rule of NC Car Club.
There weren't honestly many rules, but there weren't many.
Seen a lot of new faces around here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it wasn't quite like that. But it was pretty ruleless, only because it was such a small group.
Yeah.
I don't think we had a single weekend where there were more than 12 of us there. So a whole track facility on
Tends
12
to be
people.
a lot less drama with small
Oh,
crowds.
yeah.
That's what I like.
Yeah, so it was fantastic, and so a couple of new people would go out there, and I'm like, yeah, I'll give you some pointers, whatever, you know. So I went out and rode with a couple people, and I'd say that probably the one time where I got the most gratification is when I decided, like, yeah, I want to do more of these instructing. This is fun. Is I rode around with a kid in a Mustang. I think it was like a 2011, so he just got the horsepower.
Yeah.
And he drove around, and he was doing good. He's doing good, and I teach kind of backwards. A lot of people like to teach the brake zones first. And I always teach exit to entrance. It's just rooted in a theory of mine. But he was doing really good, and he was picking up quick. And then I showed him how to brake his car and like what the potential was. And we had to do it 3 times. I was like, I need you to hit the brakes as hard as you can so you can feel what this car will stop. And 2 times he didn't do it. And I looked at him, I'm yelling at him, like, not like mean yelling, but like trying to get energy. It's like, I need you to put effort into this, you know, like put the pedal through the floor. And the 3rd time he did it, and he stopped on drag because we're all by ourselves on this time. Right. And he stopped, and he just looked at me and was like, holy crap. And then I was like, all right, well, now take off, and now you know what it can do. And he went out and he hauled ass. And when we got back, his friends were watching, and they came up and they're like, you were driving? We thought you got out and you changed drivers.
That's awesome, man.
And that right there, it was like, that is amazing. You know, they thought that I got out of the car and got in the driver's seat based on how much he had improved that session.
Yeah.
I was
in
like,
a couple of laps.
I was like, that right there is amazing to me.
It is, dude.
It felt good.
To inspire confidence in somebody younger, you know, the next wave or generation or whatever, you know, coming up behind us in these hobbies, it's important that we keep these guys focused and interested in it, or it just goes away. Yeah. So I do a lot of that, you know, interacting with young kids and teaching guys. I've always got an intern here. We've got one coming in, I think starts this next week. New intern. Here we go. Wants to learn about engine building, he thinks. So we'll see.
Hey,
He's going to University of Northwest Ohio right now. So he's come down for a couple of weeks on his summer break and just wants to do some hands-on stuff here.
That's good.
In a shop. Like, you're going to sweat. It's going to be disgusting. You're going to have to wash parts. Like, that's going to be most of your summer. But instill that confidence, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So you weren't an instructor at that time.
No.
You were just kind of doing this for fun and helping guys out.
Yeah, it was. And Sam was really what kind of pushed me into that, the guy who runs that track. Because he saw how I drove.
What's his background? Do you know?
I don't know his background. I know he's got a degree in something.
Here.
Yeah, he's definitely a cool dude.
Yeah. Anybody that spends that much time on a track's got some stories.
Oh, yes, he does.
Yeah, he's got some stories.
I know he used to be really big into motorcycles, but I know he's kind of gotten out of that for probably logical reasons.
Yeah.
That's mostly what runs at that track is motorcycle events because there's no curbing, so it's safe for those guys.
Yeah.
And it is a really safe track to learn on. Yeah, he would be a good person to bring out here, actually.
Yeah.
He's really good.
We might have to set that up. I need to go down there and meet him there. And,
maybe that'll be the first mobile.
Yeah.
Off-site.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's not like this is a complicated setup.
Yeah.
But
so easy a caveman can do it.
When this, me and you'll appreciate that. Maybe when this one gets edited and drops, shoot it over to him or something.
Yeah.
Hey, this guy's interested. Are you?
Yeah.
So from there, going on to being an instructor, like that, obviously that was an inspirational moment. Sam kind of got behind you and said, you
should get in the car with these guys.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, you should do it. And I was like, okay. And that's how I got that experience. From there were a couple of...
so that's just his take watching you drive.
Yeah.
And watching these other people tear their shit up. Like, hey, get in the car with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That shit I got to clean up after y'all leave.
He could tell.
Yeah.
And back to the go-karts. that was really something I didn't appreciate at the time. And it was my second track weekend that I appreciated what that really meant and what my parents had given me is the other thing. It was a really rare opportunity. We did have my little track.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know how long it was, but
do you feel like you learned some car control back then?
Phenomenal amounts.
I watched these kids, like these 3-year-olds on they got like 24-volt power wheels that their dads, but they're drifting these things, hard parking on between cones and stuff.
Yeah.
Like complete spatial awareness at 3-4 years old, just total car control. It's stuff you don't think little kids ought to be able to do, and some of them just have it. It's wild.
Yeah,
it's wild, man.
I mean, when you're that young, your mind is Play-Doh. Like you can gain so much so quick if you're surrounded by it and given the opportunity to experience it. That's the time to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, so the go-kart situation is really what drove me to have the ability to do what I do, and I can't say it any other way. And the reason why I want to bring that up is because a lot of times I have people that get into this hobby and in their 20s or 30s or something like that, and they're like, "Man, I can't wait till I can drive really fast." I was like, "It's just going to take time. It's going to take a lot of seat time." And on my second track weekend, I learned what that was. So I guess I'll back up to the go-kart.
Yeah,
the go-kart was the perfect training go-kart. The first one was a single cylinder, like 1.5 horsepower or something like that.
Like solid axles.
Oh yeah, even my second one was solid axle. But I outgrew the first one pretty quick, physical size wise.
Yeah.
And the Gloucester flea market, we found one for $25. It was a frame. So we got this frame for $25. I upholstered the seat. That was my first upholstery.
I was about to ask, did your dad make you work on it?
Oh yeah. I did the upholstery on the seat. That was my first upholstery experience.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see how that came out.
It was square.
Staple gun.
Some cheap vinyl. Leftover foam from the old couch. But so I made the seat, and I had a 3.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. Just tore it down and put it back together. It didn't really do anything to it, and got it running and put it on there. And steering was all wore out, and so Dad helped me with that. They had a Volvo at the shop he was working at, and they cut all the tie rods out. So I had all Volvo tie rods on this like cheap ass go-kart. The
steering was built like a tank.
Oh, it was. Yeah. The go-kart would bend before the steering would, but it was crisp. It was right on point. But so that was the go-kart, and the front we just had the cheap like go-kart tires you could buy at the store. They just slap them on, the sort of sealed bearings, and the rear was actually a set of racing slicks. But they were so hard, I never put air in them. They just held their shape. So I had some tread on the front and racing slicks on the rear. And they were plastic drums. And I had a dirt track.
That is the combination for learning car control right there.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was the go-kart I had for years and years. And I'd say the track like maybe 35-second lap. So I mean it's a decent sized track. And I would be able to run it all the way out to the Governor on the back straightaway. So it would just float there.
Yeah.
But you can get to the point where you just never lift. You do this whole thing. You just horseshoe, you drift it around. I would never lift. I'd just feint, drift, go around, never lift after a while. It was just how fast and consistent can you be without lifting? Yeah. And so I drove that go-kart so much, the whole tree line would be covered in beige sand. Because it was just the dust would just coat the whole tree line. Yeah. And the amount of times that my parents would just, hey, we ran out of gas. Like, okay, we'll get some more. I never once, my parents ever complained that I was using too much gas or anything like that. And I really appreciate how much that did for me. So back to the second track weekend. I still had an instructor because I had done one weekend. Yep. I had an instructor with me. He had a blast because that was back with a bench seat. So he got in a car with a kid
in the Crown Vic.
With a bench seat at a track weekend, and he had a blast. He was like, "We're passing M3s in a Crown Vic. I'm on a couch."
That's wild. Yeah, on a couch. Yeah, I know exactly what it means too. Still got the bench in the wagon. It is a couch. Dude.
Yeah, so he had a blast, man. That guy was awesome. And so my second track weekend, instructor got on me. I put some cheap bucket seats that I got for my 18th birthday. And was it 18th? No, 21st birthday. And they were like $300 for 2 seats with sliders, and they're real leather.
Yeah.
So these were super cheap, but I got them in there, bolted them in. So now I have bucket seats. I'm not, one hand on the bench holding me in place. Got a manual now, so I put the manual in there. And so my second track weekend, I'm ready to go.
So that's a bunch of upgrades all at once between first and second track weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you do the first one and you're like, oh yeah, this shit's fun. Yeah. This is a blast. Yeah. So, so I'd done.
Would that thing overheat the shocks? Like you ever run into that deal?
I actually didn't have that problem from the get-go. I used to run at the first weekend I had Tokiko HP, some blue shocks. Yeah. So they were kind of high performance already.
Yeah.
And then after that, I actually ran QA1 circle track shocks all the way around. Yeah. They weren't adjustable, but I got, found them online.
It's crazy how many people don't know, like you can boil the fluid in your shocks.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like you got a flat tire or something. Yeah. It'll just fall over.
Yep.
But people don't realize that it'll boil and then it'll compress whatever gases it's created. Yeah.
Yep. And then it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I never experienced that problem. Maybe I wasn't quite good enough at that point. But on my second track weekend, I did one or two sessions. And like I said, I worked for the guy that run these events. That's how I would go. So he knew me personally. And we're having lunch and he's like, hey, you should go talk to your instructor. He's like, he said you're doing really good and you seem to have good car control, but he's pretty scared. He's like, how you're driving. And I was like, okay, so I'll go talk to him. And so he sat down and asked me, like, what's your experience? I was like, well, I did Summit Point a couple months ago. And he's like, you ever done autocross? I was like, no. He's like, you ever done any like hill climb or anything? I was like, no. He's like, you never raced go-karts? I was like, no. Well, I did have a go-kart as a kid. And it was kind of like movie style of like flashing.
Flashback, yeah.
Like, oh, wait shit, that was a lot of driving.
Yeah.
I do 2-3 hours a day all summer, you know, and I was like, oh, that was a lot of driving. I was like, yeah, I did a lot of go-kart driving. And you could hear his sigh. He was like, okay. So he just felt so much more comfortable knowing that I actually had done something.
Yeah. You weren't out there just winging it, pinning it to the floor.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
It's just going good. Yeah. So yeah, that was when I became to appreciate how much I got out of the go-karts.
Yeah.
And that was my last instructor. Yeah.
We had a shop go-kart for a little while. 18 horse opposing twin piston. And too many people almost died, so the go-kart's gone. It was way too fast.
Yeah.
And it had like 4-wheel suspension, not a solid axle setup. Well, independent in the front, solid in the solid axle in the rear.
Yeah.
But had like little dirt bike shocks and mostly just crap we threw together.
Yeah.
Like, it had some air handler springs. Isolation springs for air handler on the front for the front coils worked perfect, dude.
That's awesome.
But a couple people like jumped ditches with it and hit telephone poles and it had disc brakes, but it would glow them like if you were really getting after it.
Yeah,
like it would try to melt the disc and all of a sudden the brakes are gone and you're doing like 65, 70, and we're doing this shit on public roads. Cops would show up like, put the motorcycle away. Like, they were nice to us. Yeah, we're gonna call this in as a motorcycle complaint. Yeah. They were good to us, but it had to go away. But I feel like even my little brother, right, before he had his license, we had him on that thing. We would take him to a parking lot. Like there was a roundabout behind the school at the end of my road. I'd take him down there where they would turn school buses around. So pretty big.
Yeah, that's gonna be decent size.
It's like an asphalt oval tracks, all it was. And we would just spend like all day Saturday down there and I'd teach them how to just drive without lifting. Exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Never did the sewer pipes on the tires to really get it to drift. I should have done that.
Yeah. Yeah, those are freaking awesome. I'm yet to drive one, but I mean that's the most amount of fun you can have at like 3 miles an hour.
There's that guy that comes around here. He's got the racing lawnmower. And he'll bring it up here with the sewer pipe on the back of this racing lawnmower. And he's out here just doing like 720s in the street at like 40 miles an hour. I've got a video of it, man.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's a different kind of I'm not. I guess it's car control, but like the wheelbase is, I don't know, 30 something inches. It's just, and it'll just spin all the way down the road. Yeah, I think I'd throw up if I tried it, but yeah, I didn't have nearly the go kart time that you have, but seeing it in my little brother, seeing him like get more and more comfortable, I know exactly what you're saying. So, the process of becoming an instructor, like what was that? I actually do not know.
So
I know what, like 3 or 4, I don't know, 5 instructors now. I've never asked anybody.
It's mostly situational, or it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
that's really what it boils down to. I got lucky in my situation. You know, like you said, I got a cheap deal at the track weekend. He saw I was driving, recommended me. Then they had a beginner, like they were starting their own track club.
Yeah.
So I think it was called Apex Track Events, and they were starting their own venture. Like, hey, we want to do track weekends. So they both knew each other, recommended me to be an instructor. So
this was at NC Car?
Yeah. And so this is no official prerequisites.
Okay.
But I had gone to, I mean, at that point in time, I'd probably done 30 track weekends. You know?
Yeah.
So I was no noob to the environment and whatnot. So he recommended me to do it, and I did it. And like I said, I had fun. It's great. I mean, to this date, I can't say I've had one bad student. You know, and I would say if you say you had a bad student, it's unlikely you had a bad student.
you were having a bad day?
Yeah, it's likely a bad instructor. Yeah. Because, I mean, they're always there to have fun. Nobody pays that much money to go there and be pissy.
Right.
They don't. They're there to have fun. And if you're not enabling them to have fun, you're doing something wrong. You know? Yeah. Because that wasn't their goal to be upset. You know?
That's a good point. Yeah.
So, you know, it's been a blast. I've loved it. I've got to experience some pretty cool vehicles to be in, and
everybody I know is like, absolutely, Johnny can drive everything I own, you know. And I've heard crazy stories about you driving other people's shit. And they're like, I didn't think my car would do that. Now I'm mad. Yeah. Ron talking about you, I think it was at Summit Point. He's like, son of a bitch, he just put it in 5th. I've never had my car in 5th gear on a track. Like,
and that was without full throttle.
Yeah. As we found out on the dyno.
Yeah.
This thing's lazy.
Yeah.
3/4 throttle.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are inspired by you and your confidence in their cars. Like like Ron, for example, just like, damn, I think my car will do that. Now I'm going to go try it. You know, I don't know if that's a good idea, but.
Well, and that's always been a thing too that I've had to try and keep in mind. Other people have said it, and as I've become more aware of my ability to drive, that was a slow process, because I mean, I'll tell you, as a kid and as a young adult, you know, I would always look on TV and stuff, and you know, these guys they're fast, you know, and I go to these track weekends and they'd be in the instructor group, and I'm like, oh, those guys are fast, you know. And
those
it's
are
hard.
Bad dudes.
Yeah, exactly.
I know exactly what you mean.
There's a lot of there's like aura around them.
Yeah.
Oh,
the drivers.
Yeah. Look at him. He's got something on his shirt. But
I've got a catch-up stand.
Yeah, right. But you know, as I became a little more exposed, came to appreciate that I actually was driving fast. When I went out to the track in the Crown Vic, you know, with a bench seat passing, we're all noobs.
Yeah.
But I'm driving right past M3s and, you know,
cars
Corvettes.
You shouldn't be able to pass.
Exactly.
Handily.
There's no way the car is better. There's no way.
Right.
You know, I had dynoed it. It made 195 horsepower. So there's
Hell
no
yeah.
way there's no way it was a car, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and so there was always kind of a doubt in my mind. I'm like, really go, well, they're all noobs, and you know, and I'm a noob too, so whatever. I'm picking on the little kids, essentially, is what I'm doing. But like the real guys drive. You know?
I think it applies to any hobby or even profession, man. Staying humble. You know?
Oh yeah.
And I've always thought of you as a really humble, just down to earth guy. And,
I appreciate that.
But everybody that talks about you, like, they're like, bro, Johnny's going to drive my car this weekend. Dude. Like, you know, it's kind of wild because I just know you from the shop and working on your car a little bit with you. I don't, like I said, I haven't spent a lot of time with you at the track, so I don't know that side of you really. Like I've seen your car pass other people in their videos, like their dash. You know, that's what I know of your car. But the way people talk about you, if I didn't know you, I would expect you to be cocky, and you're not. You know, I think staying humble, I think, has gotten you a long way.
There's always bigger fish.
Oh,
Always
yeah.
bigger fish.
Yeah.
You know, and I've never been able to measure either. That's what I mean. I hope that no matter what, if I were to somehow be a Formula One champion, I would never want to be different than that.
Yeah.
You know, but I've never been able to measure to find out, and I try to keep that very clear that I've never had the same car with a different driver to be able to actually measure. I've been close, and so I've been able to compare to a few people in some of the endurance racing I've done, but as a general, I haven't. Because if it's not apples to apples, it's just impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, because I can tell you with that Celica, the way it was configured, and it has been, I think like a 219 is like the best lap I could get out of ER. Maybe I get a 218, I think. But I mean,
that's not a slow lap.
It's not, but like a spec E30, a spec E30 weighs 400 pounds more than that, and they're running around on the same tires I am, and they're 214s. So I mean, I'm at the same power minus a couple 100 pounds.
Yeah.
But that's the difference in the car.
The chassis, just the chassis alone. The E30 is. Yeah,
it is a much better grip, And so, and I only say that because I've also driven E30s and I've been able to get 217s out of them, 216s out of them, in not spec E30s, but track prep cars. Enough, so I'm like, I know that there's a difference in the car. So without a direct comparison, you can really never say you beat somebody. It doesn't matter how close or how far you are. Yeah. You can never say you beat somebody unless you drive the same car the same day. And that's the only time you can say, I beat you. Otherwise, so who have you really got to measure up against? 6 people?
Yeah. In your case, certainly.
Yeah. So there's no point in me saying I'm better than anybody because you never know. Like I said, I might have beat them in that car because something about it felt terrible. One of my students had a C5 Z06 and he drove it around. I was like, man, you're just being real timid on the brakes. I was like, you're doing pretty good, but you're really afraid of the brakes. And he's like, well, they just keep going to the floor. I was like, well, let's bleed them. So I bled the brakes and it came out all black. And so we drove it, and I was like, man, you still feeling pretty afraid? He was like, yeah, it just feels, it doesn't really feel any different. I was like, okay, well, let's bleed him again. He came out all black again. And he's driving pretty slow.
Yeah.
And so I drove his car, and within 2 laps, pedal goes away. I'm like, that's freaking nuts, dude. He's got good pads, but it just boiled the fluid like that. So he was afraid based on that.
Yeah.
And
that's a good reason.
Yeah, it is very much so. But, he had a really fast car and he was driving really slow.
Yeah.
He also has a Honda that he has prepared and drives really fast in that. So even if you're beating somebody in a fast car and they're driving slow, it doesn't mean that they're slower.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on in that situation.
Yeah.
He might not have a damn brake pedal.
Right.
So, you really can't, and that's crucial is that you can't assume that you have beaten anybody until you actually do.
So, talking about seat time, what's your take on sims?
I actually love it, and I got to experience that with a student. Okay. It was huge. I was blown away and I think Sam set that up in particular. I have a hunch. It was a kid who was 15. He just gotten his learners. He drove an old F-150, and his dad was there. His vote of confidence, and his dad kept talking. Oh, he's really good. He's really calm. He's smart. I'm like, that's cool and all. I don't really care about you. Let's talk to him.
Yeah.
I'm excited because he's never driven a car, and he's never driven a car on track, and he's never driven anything fast. I was like, you drive a 4-wheeler? He's like, well, we got a side-by-side for doing farm work. And I was like, okay.
Because that's such a small, close-knit group, do you get to put people like that are brand new, out there by themselves? Not without you in the car, but no other cars on the track.
No, generally not. It's
stress is on.
It's on, yeah.
Well, I mean, sometimes that's good. Trial by fire.
It is, but when they mitigate that a little bit, different groups tend to do it. They almost all do it at least the first green. The green group is the novice group. The first couple of laps or half the session is standing caution, so no passing. So you're just out there exploring the track essentially, and that's really good. Because there's a lot of nerves.
Yeah, figure out where the corner workers are at and all that.
The way I describe it is, I'm on a racetrack. I'm on a racetrack.
Yeah.
That's
where is the track?
Yeah.
We should have a little sip of something. I killed my gin and tonic.
Well, I brought a bottle.
Let's open it.
Let's open it.
We know this one. It's delicious.
Yes, we do. It is good. Now that they've changed how to get them.
All racing, but this type of racing is very competitive, even as a hobby. And I just don't see that side of you. I guess it's a good outlet for you. You come off track, and you can just leave it there. I don't see. I've never seen any kind of aggression out of you or competitiveness. Nothing. Like, I've seen you talk a little trash. Everybody does around here. But I got to get to the track with you. I got to see that side of Johnny.
I mean, I don't think I really have that competition per se.
Or you're talking about maybe sometime in the future.
I do.
Dabbling with some Specky 30 stuff. So I think you're going to have to get competitive. Not get, but I think you're going to have to use.
I forget.
I know what's in there.
I forget this is.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's not a shot glass.
That is not a shot glass. Do you want that amount?
Sure.
All right.
I'm not going to leave you hanging.
Going to town.
That's good.
I don't ever feel like when I'm on the track, and even when I've done the endurance racing, I don't feel like I gotta beat that person. I might say I've got to go faster to get around that person, and that's my goal. But
nobody's ever pissed you off, and you're like, next weekend or tomorrow, like,
if they piss me off, it's because they're preventing me from going faster. That's pretty much it.
That is the competitive side.
But that's it. It's not because if they're going my speed and I can't pass them, then I'm excited. I'm having fun. Yeah. It's not, I don't feel like I got to beat them. I'm just literally having fun. Yeah. Like, this is a blast. One of the guys I met through one of the first endurance races I did, his name's Warren Turnaspeed, and he's a professional instructor. I think he does a lot of things. So he does a racing with a CO6. He's a very good driver.
Yeah.
He was in an E36 and I was in an E30. And cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
And it was raining. And I came up on him. I can't remember. I don't think it was night, but it was raining, so it was darkish. I came up on him, and he was driving fairly good, but I was like, this guy's going to be a little weird because he's like drifting. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pass him. And he just started getting more and more aggressive. And I was like, all right.
Do you think it's because you were there? Like, maybe he was kind of panicking?
No, it wasn't a panic. I later found out he was trying. He was trying to give it everything he had. And then eventually I was like, and I was having a blast watching him. I was like, this is cool as shit. I get to see somebody else drifting. This is cool. I get the seat for watching the drift event. Yeah. So it was cool. Mid-race, he's just like getting it. And I was like, this is freaking awesome. And like, finally I managed to make a pass, and I walk away, and later on he comes up to me and pits me. I was awesome. I was trying everything. I was like, there ain't no way this E30's passing me. But I couldn't do it. So
it's good when you get that response.
Yeah.
Because you know that you pushed him, and that's what he's there for too.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't push yourself anymore, but like you see somebody in your mirror, and you're like, maybe I got a little something else. Yeah.
And that's, that actually comes back to your sim question, actually. So Sims I put a lot of value on as a good portion of driving, a huge portion of it. One of the students I had no car experience, no motorcycle experience, no fast anything experience. Yeah. But he had driven a lot of sim. And so I got to be his instructor for his first time driving a car on track. And within the second session, he was passing everybody in the new group. Everybody. It was awesome.
Do you know if he had like one of these with like the articulating seat, or was this like
judging by the truck that Dad was driving, I would imagine he had a nice sim.
Yeah.
And they were farm. They had a farm.
Yeah.
So usually most people that have a farm that are taking their kids to a track weekend are not poor.
Yeah. I don't think that you can get the tactile feedback that you need from one of those like fixed sims, like sitting playing PlayStation. Like you can learn tracks and
you can learn a lot.
Yeah.
You can learn a lot.
Oh no, I'm not discounting it. I'm not discounting it. Some of those guys are really badass, dude. Sim and take it right to the track.
Yeah.
And turn the same lap times. Like that's kind of wild. One of the guys that I think I know through you, Mike Newcomb.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's super into him. I don't know what setup he's got, but he and I were talking. out at VIR last year before, I don't know, after we tuned his car, about what would it be like to run VIR backwards. And he's like, you can do that in the sim.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, now I kind of want to try it, you know? Like, going up roller coaster like that. I was standing there looking at roller coaster, and that's what got me thinking, like, what would it be like to crest that at speed like that?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I give a lot of credit to the Sims, though. They do a lot for getting you a huge portion. They will not make you the best driver in the world, but they will get you a huge jump start. And there's a lot of it that they train you well on. And you'd be surprised if you drive, if you drive like cheap Sims or arcade game Sims, you won't get some of this.
Yeah.
You'll still get some spatial awareness, but the real Sims are nice because you actually have to pay attention to where the lights are at. So it gives you track awareness as well.
Yeah.
The real Sims give you major penalties for contact and things like that.
That's what Mike was saying. Like, I don't let anybody use my account because
iRacing is, and when they came out with iRacing, I was an early adopter. I was a very early adopter of iRacing, and I got to race with Dale Earnhardt Jr. because there's no fake names in iRacing. They pull it off your credit card. Yeah. So if you're racing with Dale Earnhardt Jr., you are racing with Dale Earnhardt Jr. or some really obsessed kid. Yeah. But it was neat because you get a lot of that spatial awareness. You get a lot of like threshold braking, what you actually have to do that, and learning how to go around a corner is a big one. If you have a decent steering wheel, you can learn counter steer. You can't do it with a cheap steering wheel because it's a linear problem. Yeah. Cheap steering wheels don't do multiple rotations. They just do 270 degrees. Right. And so the first 30 degrees is a linear 30 degrees. And after that, it just skyrockets. Right. So you cannot drift.
Try to sling it back the other way.
Yeah, you can't drift or catch it. Yeah. So the years that I drove like that in my racing sims were, if it steps out, you've lost it.
Do you have anything now?
Not now. No. It's been years since I've had a
set anybody with one? Do you ever get to play with one?
No, honestly, I don't.
I shouldn't say play with one. I'm gonna offend people. It's not a game, Mike. It's not a game.
It's a game. It's a game. It's having fun. But it's huge.
I get shit no matter what I say. So
yeah, no, it's a game. It is. It is if you don't think it's that, then you're doing the wrong thing. I don't go to the track to get upset. I certainly don't sit down at my gaming rig to get upset.
Right. So what was this kid's feedback from you or whatever? Like, how did he equate the sim to doing it in real life? What did he give you?
So for him, he felt like obviously the motion. He's like, there's a lot more motion and distraction.
Yeah, you feel the fluids in your body move around. Yeah, like the real G's.
Yeah, yeah. And he said the braking was probably one of the most difficult things because you have to physically feel the braking now. Whereas you can do it in the game and it's like purely sound based. Yeah. Because you can't feel the car starting to lock up or anything. You hear the sound until you lift, So it's different in there because a lot of times with a louder car, you can't hear the tire sliding, but you can feel it. Yeah. So he was like, the feelings are really, really big difference there. It's kind of distracting right now. Yeah. And it's just going to come with time. But, he was, like I said, he was phenomenal. Yeah. He was driving at a skill level that, I would say your average student has gone to 2 or 3 track weekends, and that was in session 2.
Yeah. That's a significant jump for
somebody who's never driven a car.
Yeah. Just got his learners.
Yeah. He drives a pickup truck. Yeah. That's all he's ever driven. Yeah. I was like, that's freaking wild. I was like, this is cool. I was so excited. I was like, I wanted to see this because I always wanted to know, what do these sims do for people? Yeah. And that's what I got to see.
That's not a very common experience to be a part of. Like the first time coming from sim driving to that. Yeah. There's the movie about the kid that did it,
Oh, really?
Have you seen that? He went from sim driver to F1? Mm-mm. You haven't seen that?
No.
Shit, I gotta think of the name of it. We'll figure that out. But that movie's pretty cool.
But sim racing did something for me as well. It was a big one for me. I used to do the old sim before iRacing came out. It was made by a company called Simbin. And it's real popular in Europe because here in America, us dumb Americans, we don't do sims because they're not fun, because they're hard. That's at least what my perspective on it at the time. And this was probably back in like 2003 or 4. Or
they were pretty crude.
Yeah. Most of them were. This one
They're
was
amazing now, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This sim was actually pretty good. It was pretty
I can't
advanced.
even say now. I haven't seen like a legit sim in a decade.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm sure they've made improvements.
Yeah.
I honestly haven't sat down at one probably 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
But they've made huge strides. I mean, once iRacing came out, beyond that, you're kind of splitting hairs. I mean, they were there. They had modeled all the stuff. It was real.
Yeah.
So. But I raced this one, and they found this German site. It was all in German, so I had to use a translator to read it. And they developed their own software and their own servers that you could set up on your computer, and you could log into their server and get the latest mods. So it would get the new maps and new cars for the game. And the one I raced was vintage for the most part, because I was like, cool, they have vintage GT Legends.
Yeah.
So it had all these
some heavy shit 70s.
Oh yeah, 70s IMSA cars. They had a C3 Corvette, 700 horsepower.
That's the shit. That's my soul, man.
I was like, this is cool shit. You get to drive cool shit and play this game. But they added Nordschleife, which is the green monster in Germany. And I started driving that track constantly. I was like, this track is awesome. You do fast lap times, and you spend 8 minutes, 9 minutes out on
track. Is that a dream drive for you? Go do it in person. Have you been out of country?
I haven't been out of country, not for real. No, I went to Costa Rica once, but that's it. No, I haven't been out of country. That is a dream drive to go down there. The one hang up.
How old were you when you went to Costa Rica? This is just way off subject now.
6 years ago, 7 years ago. Mid-30s.
Did you get to experience any car culture there? Island car culture is...
I did not get to experience car culture, but damn, there's a lot of Sentras there. There are Sentras everywhere. If you don't own a Sentra, you're screwed.
That's kind of wild. Sentra. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see... There were a couple of, you saw some mods to a Sentra. Yeah. I did see an E28 in somebody's backyard. I was like, hey, there is one here. Yeah. But it was pretty much Sentras everywhere. 80s Sentras everywhere.
So is that the pinnacle track? Is that the Holy Grail? Get to go over there, drive?
Yeah. I would say so. That would be the one.
Let's do this real quick. What are the top 3? We got number 1 there. We're going to do it backwards.
Ooh. I don't know the names very well. I will tell you that.
I don't give a shit. You can just tell me where they're at.
Spa Francorchamps would be one. I mean, a lot of my sim racing is the tracks that I haven't got to drive. Spa, Francorchamps, Nordschleife. I don't care if I get to drive Nürburgring. I just want Nordschleife.
Yeah. Why separate it like that?
Nürburgring is
it's the full
it's the GP course. No, that's the one you see the F1 drive on, and they do Nürburgring. Nordschleife is an exit off of that. Okay. And it runs right next to it. And Nordschleife is the 12-mile circuit.
Okay, so it's the big one. Yeah.
Nordschleife is the big one. Yeah. Nürburgring, and people refer to it in different ways. Yeah. And maybe I'm getting it wrong, but in the game that I played, Nordschleife was the big circuit. Yeah. Nürburgring Nordschleife is when you run the whole circuit together, right. Which is cool. I get to drive this mountain pass, and then I get to go onto a GP track, and then I get to go back on a mountain pass. Yeah. So I definitely prefer the mountain pass side of it. So that'd be number 1. I would like to drive Spa, but that is a power track. You gotta have power to go there. It's like Road America, a freaking 3/4 mile straightaway. Next turn, 3/4 mile straightaway. So you gotta have some power to really have fun there. Beyond that, I'd probably say my next favorite track is, because I've driven it, is Atlanta Motorsport Park, which is a small track, but it's a blast.
But one you haven't hit yet. What's the attainable goal right now? What's a track stateside or Canada, Mexico? I don't know.
Stateside, I mean, I would love to go all the way over to California and drive Laguna Seca. That would be freaking awesome, because that track is I view that as more like VIR. It's like you can take a lower power car there and have fun. Yeah. You can take a big power car there and still have fun. It's not holding a big car back, and you can still do stuff with a little car, a smaller car. So it looks like a fun track. Tons of elevation change, which is really what makes any good track amazing. It is. It makes them all amazing. So
that's what makes VIR the elevation change.
It is, yeah. And the only reason I don't put VIR on that list is because I'm there all the time.
It's the home track. Yeah.
I've gone there a lot. Yeah. But the reality is, if you take away I live close to it, it is a world-renowned track.
Yeah, I don't think there's another one more beautiful.
Yeah.
That setting,
we're very fortunate to have it this close.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, how tucked away that place is, but it's not a painful drive to get to.
Yeah.
And the people that run it are 100% into the track. Like, they keep that place top notch, I think.
Yeah, they do.
It's beautiful every time you go out there. And I don't know. I feel like they love it.
It's a resort. It's a resort.
Yeah. It's a fucking
It is a resort.
playground.
Yeah.
I did Spring Mountain, and it's a nice facility, but it's in the middle of the desert. It's hard to keep the surface clean.
Mm-hmm.
And like, desert scenery is beautiful, but it's not.
It's in a different way.
Yeah, it's not VIR, man.
Mm-hmm.
And there's I'm gonna get this wrong. They're like, there's 180 feet of elevation change here, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
that's not gonna be noticeable at these speeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I would love to drive Nordschleife. My goal was to always drive my car. Originally, my goal was to drive a Crown Vic on there. How unique would be that?
Yeah. Stick shift Crown Vic.
Yeah.
You may be in the one of three category there.
Well, nowadays it's actually not the case. It's been so long since I followed the culture of the Crown Vic world. I used to be heavily in it. But there's quite a few people have done that swap.
But I mean, on that track.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That might be one of one. Yeah. But as you become older and a little more focused in reality, you realize it's not really affordable.
flying the car over there,
that's a bit
or
of a
shipping
budget.
it. I wouldn't want to ship it. I'd want to fly it if I had to do it.
I said the same thing. Like, it's too much risk.
Yeah.
As risky as a flight is.
Weight,
yeah.
Wait, man. Just
half a year there and back. Half a year you will not have your car.
Yeah. That would.
And then what a miserable experience it is to move it around over there.
And I've seen some guys like fly their cars in from Puerto Rico or whatever for what race was that? Might have been FL2K. One of the big ridiculous races, maybe World Cup. I don't remember
something
which one
rotary
it was.
versus piston.
But they but they flew their cars in kind of last minute. Like, we overnight FedExed our cars, and they're like, "How expensive was that?" And they're like, "It actually wasn't bad because the plane wasn't full, and when it comes down to the last minute, they'll just take cargo just for the weight of it, So got to overnight the car for pennies compared to what it normally costs. So something to think about.
Yeah, that's like, I'm gonna note that one down.
Yeah, and I've never thought about it that way. I've got another friend that flies all these random flights across the U.S., different meetings and whatever, and he's always doing it on private jets. I'm like, I know you don't make that kind of money. Like, you make good money. Like, why are you always like private jets? And he's like, these people fly somewhere and they've got a convention and whatever, and they're private jets there, but their wife needs it back in L.A., so it's got to fly. So there's these like private boards that you can get onto, and like you can say, all right, I'll pay $300, whatever, to go from Austin, Texas to LA.
Yeah.
And you can get on this private jet by yourself, full amenities, $300, get to LA.
Anything to cover the fuel.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, otherwise it's just going on your dime, the owner's dime. So anything to chip in towards it. I didn't know shit like that happened.
Oh, that's cool.
Fuck, I want to do that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hop on a private jet for no reason.
Yeah. Anywhere.
Yeah. Where's it going? I don't care. Let's go.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyway, we're off. We're way off now. I love talking to people about dream cars and dream tracks, man. It's neat to hear people look towards the future in a positive way. Like, I'm going to do that one day. It is. Even just one of the driving experiences. Like, I think BMW's got the driving experience where you take out a new in whatever.
Yeah.
On the ring, Even getting to do something like that, I think would be just insane.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be.
It'd be even crazier to take your own car. Undoubtedly. Like, poor thing.
Yeah. Right. You want to talk about being flat out for a while.
Yeah, run the absolute tongue out of it.
Yeah, there's definitely some sections in there that are all flat out.
Yeah, you would find valve
I
flip.
would read a book.
Are we there yet?
Yeah.
Nope. Damn.
Yeah. But I used to drive that in the sim, and I have more laps, which is, given how long the laps are, I have more sim laps in VR than any other track. You know, I probably exclusively drove that track for 3 years, you know, on the sim.
Yeah.
And I used to do it so much I had to stop because I was sim, go-kart, track, and my elbows hurt to the point that I had to give up. Like I burned them up. I had
driver's elbow.
Oh, it was bad. I actually gave up at the track when I was in the Crown Vic, and I pulled off track. I was like, I cannot do this. Like, this is a safety concern because I'm gonna go into the corner and this elbow is gonna hurt so much I'm not gonna be able to turn the wheel. I was like, it was that bad, and I was like, I'm calling it quits today. I can't do it. So I just backed off on a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
But that the sim there, I had a awakening moment there. So I would go on to this sim. This was mostly European people. So, you know, thankfully I was living the college life, so I could go on from 1 to 5 when they were on there. Otherwise, it was a ghost town. Like, that's why I say nobody in America played it.
Yeah.
It was on the shelves here, but just nobody bought it.
Yeah.
But it's I was racing with a WTCC Extreme. So it was a fictitious car based on the touring car group. Made like 800 horsepower and had tons of aero. So DTM car essentially is what it really was.
Yeah.
And so you could run some pretty blistering laps. So I was running this Nordschleife circuit, and I was running I got it down to like 638 or something, like 635, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Mid 30s. And I mean, I'd go online and these guys would join, and nobody would be able to keep up with me the whole time. Months and months of just nobody keeping up with me. And I was like, all right, I'm good. I got this shit. I'm good. And then somebody finally joined with one of these extreme cars. Usually they would join with a slower car, or if they showed up with the extreme car, they just crash. Which is, you know, you learn the first 10 turns really quick. The last turn, you almost never get to drive. Yeah. Restart. You know? But he joined with that, and then I ran with him for a little while, and I was like, oh, this guy's getting it. We're cool, you know, and he was outpacing me. And then I crashed, and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just watch him for the rest of this lap and then restart when he gets close to the end. And he's like, all right, he's doing pretty good. And so I get back in the car and get ready to catch up with him, and I go out with him, and he just walks away from me, and I'm like, this guy's walking my ass. Like, what the hell's going on? And I was driving the M3 car. He was driving the Aston Martin, which I drove, and I said, this car handles like shit, and go back to the M3. And so I'm like, he's got a shittier car, and he's stomping me. And I looked at his lap times, and he was running 6:18.
Oh, shit.
I was like, what? You're taking 20 seconds off my time. I'm like, I've never had anybody pass me, let alone take 20 seconds.
Talk in German?
Yeah. No, I didn't. I should have, because it would not have paid off then, though.
Yeah.
So he took 20 seconds off my time. I saw that lap time. I was like, screw this. I'm just watching. So I just watched him.
Start studying, yeah?
Yeah. So I was like, what is he doing? And I watched him for a little while.
See, that's your competitive side right there, man. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess it is, but it's clock competitive.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to be faster than this because apparently there's more on the table.
But only a truly competitive person would stop. Like, I know I'm making mistakes. Let me see where and watch somebody better. Like, that's a truly competitive person.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not doing everything that the guy next to you is doing in any kind of racing, drag racing, sim racing, road course, whatever, if you're not doing the same thing he is, you're not going to catch him.
The moment you think you got it is the moment you ain't.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not going to discover some magical line and pick up 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. You're making mistakes. You have to realize that. So you being able to realize that, acknowledge it, and what you said was the right thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I watched him, and I watched like half a lap. And basically what I learned is I might turn in the right spot. I might, turn out the right spot. I'm decent driving. But basically I need to do everything better. Straight up. That's what I saw.
He was just consistent.
He would brake later. He would turn harder. He would get on the gas sooner. He did everything better. Yeah. And the way I had been driving for months on end, I said in this time frame, I probably put 300 laps in this track, and I was like, this is all this car had. I was like, there is no more.
But see, there was nobody in your mirror.
We
were talking about that earlier.
Yeah,
like,
you need somebody to push you. Yeah, exactly.
If there's nobody in your mirror, you think you've hit it.
Yeah.
And you're not even close.
So that's sim racing.
20 seconds is
huge.
Yeah, miles, man. Like, that's not a little gap.
No, it's not. I mean, granted, it's a six plus minute map, but it's huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah. Their pit times aren't 20 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, this is crazy. So I watched him and I was like, I just need to drive harder. And within the next week, I ran my own 609.
So you bested him.
Oh yeah, I bested him.
Yeah,
I was like,
10 seconds, dude. Like that's 30 off your own, but 10.
Yeah. So within 1 week,
you think he watched one of your laps?
Oh, I doubt it. I never saw him again.
Oh, okay. Like, hold up.
Yeah. But I was it was neat to me is because what that sim racing did to me is something I might maybe have never gotten because in real life I'd have been like, it was the car. Yeah. He's just way better than me. And
because you can't sit in his car and watch him.
Yeah, exactly. So that sim gave me something I don't think I would have ever gotten in real life. And that is a realization that I am the one holding me back. That's the only person that's stopping me from going faster. And that's me.
Not the car.
Not the car, not the track, not that person, not the weather, the tires, the brakes, or the fuel. It's me.
That's cool, dude. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Those aha moments are so valuable, man. And a lot of people look right past what should be that moment. I see it. Like, there's this fantastic learning opportunity right in front of somebody. I see it with these interns and stuff. Like, here is a giant opportunity.
Yep.
And you can point it out to them, dude. But if they don't capture it, if they don't see it, it's gone. It's wasted. It's a bummer.
I have a pet peeve moment like that I struggle to get any mechanic to see. And I've had so many come through, and they just don't want to listen to it. These guys, it's so mundane. But
so real quick, tell people, you briefly mentioned you work for Auto House, but like give us a little bit of that, a little bit of background. How long you been at Auto House?
13 years now. Yeah.
As long as I've been in business. That's cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, I've been in business 13 years.
Been there for a while, but I can't say I have a job description. It would probably be too big for this table. Auto House is a small company, as big as it may be. So nobody has one job. That's for sure.
Well, you and I were talking about that this week. Man.
A little bit of everything.
The closer you get to the top, the more jobs you have. Man.
Yeah. Yeah. But I did start out there actually as an apprentice. I was an apprentice for 1 week. I had never worked at any other shop. So I hired myself. When I interviewed or whatever, I said, I feel like I should be an apprentice. I've never worked at a shop. I've done a lot of work on my own cars. I've done everything. In and out, every bolt, every piece. I was like, but I've never worked at a shop.
You're just humble, dude. You're just humble. You're like, don't throw me to the wolves just yet. Like, let me tame the wolves.
Yeah, the first job is Josh Beasley, if he ever watches this. Well, he was like, oh, you're going to pull these cylinder heads off. You're going to have them done today because I've had them off and on in a day. And I'm like, I looked at him. I said, I can have these off today, but you better be here to help me get these bolts in the right spot. Because I'm not going to be able to keep track of this shit.
They're coming off fast.
But I had them off.
What was the car?
It was a BMW 750, big V8.
Yeah.
That was before the turbo age.
Yeah.
At least those cars were before the turbo.
That's what Steve Blackwell got, isn't it?
Yeah. Same motor. Yeah. And I think at the time they were paying.
Hey, edit that out. We don't want to pull the heads off of that thing. Sorry, Steve. You're LS swapping that thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 40 some hours for that job, So it's a huge amount of time. But,
was it just head gaskets? What was it? Why were you pulling the heads?
Oh, they have a terrible problem with the valve stem seals. They leak, and so you burn smoke and oil all the time. And you get it. What tells you to buy it is when you get a check engine light for your secondary air. It burns all this oil and it clogs the secondary air ports and the exhaust. And so then you get a check engine light. And the reality is the valve guides wear because, they're like, they're microscopic valve stems. Yeah. So they wear out and the guides wear out.
What are they? And those like 5 millimeter or something? They're tiny.
They are very tiny. It's pathetic. Yeah. Your Briggs & Stratton 5 horsepower has way bigger stem. Way bigger.
It's good for flow, just not longevity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So back then, in 2011, we were able to get coverage to have new cylinder heads put on. because the guides are worn. So
Yeah.
the only real fix is to put cylinder heads on, and it'll be good for another 60 to 80,000 miles.
Ow. For a
Yeah.
40-hour job.
Yeah. And the heads were, I think, $5,000 a piece or something like that.
That hurts paying book
Yeah.
hour at a real shop rate. I mean, you guys have a real shop rate. That's painful.
Yeah, but most of the time it's covered by warranties, and this is why I tell people, anybody watching this, and I'm not trying to sell you your aftermarket warranty for your car, but if you own a European car, you need an aftermarket warranty. It doesn't matter how much money you make; they cost too much to maintain. If you've got one outside of a factory warranty, you have to. Brought to you by CNA. No, actually, we use DKP, so DKP. Sorry, but no, it's not cost effective. That job was $13,000 every time it come in. It's $13,000.
What is one of those cars sell for right now? I know it's
God, maybe $3,000.
$3,000. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
That's
Just
that's,
LS swap.
yeah,
It's the same cost.
That's a clean one, but that's clean.
Yeah.
But
It's the same cost to LS swap.
Yeah, so it's phenomenally expensive to maintain these European cars. But yeah, so that was week 1 job. I think it was job 2, and Josh was like, "Yeah, you're not an apprentice." So that was my end of my apprenticeship.
Did you get a raise that third
Yeah.
week or whatever?
Yeah,
Hell
yeah. First week I was got my raise. But yeah, I've been with the company since then, and it's been a blast. It's really a really good group of people there. I got my buddy, good friend Scott. I've known for it's getting ready to be 20 years here soon. I got him to come there, and I hope that he's enjoyed his time there. Been phenomenal getting to work with him and not hating his guts.
I've worked with you just a little bit here and there. Johnny stepped in when I got hurt and ran the dyno for me a couple times. Like, dude, you're just super smooth. Everything you're doing, like, you're just calm, down to earth. Yep, let's get it done.
Scott might have seen another side of that, but
whatever.
But I've known him for a long time. But and I give a lot of credit to Scott. And Scott is a very level-headed person. Yeah. And maybe we can get him to come up here because he'll talk a fence post in the ground.
That's cool.
Yeah, but
that's what this is about, man.
He's the one with the E28 turbo E28.
Oh, that thing's. Yeah, I'd like to see that car. Too.
Yeah,
is it a street car?
Yeah, it's a street car.
Cool.
Yeah.
He should.
And you should probably drive it up here one day.
Yeah, Scott. So where the hell were we going? I asked you to tell us where you work, why it was relevant, for what reason. Shit. Damn, we got way off track.
Yeah.
Shit.
Going fast.
Things are fast. Yep.
Learning that I'm my own hold up.
Why was your job relevant? What the hell was it? It's gonna look really dumb in editing.
Cue the
drooling into the whiskey for a minute. What the hell? I interrupted you and I was like, wait a minute, let's talk about what you do.
It was something mechanical.
Shit. Drawing a fucking blank, dude.
I don't know.
Yeah. Whatever. We were talking about sales and how that's valuable.
I do like my job though.
Yeah.
It's. I think that's important to always.
It was something you said about just relating to your job, and I was like, well, let's tell people what your job is. Yeah. Anyway, me and you can figure this out in editing. Fuck it. So, one of the things I love to ask people, man, and it's a pointless question, but I don't know why it's so interesting to me. Top 3, like, I don't know, hit the Mega Millions tomorrow. What are the 3 cars? Like, the 3.
And it'd have to be Mega Millions.
Yeah. Yeah. My top 3 are so dumb, dude.
Yeah.
And they're all the same year, actually, which is even dumber. But go ahead. Yeah.
So mine are not stock cars. They're definitely all modified. Track car, I would love to have a 1974 Capri RS 3100 race car. That is what I would love to have.
What engine was in that?
That is a 3.8 liter or 3.1 liter 3100. but it made.
Is that a inline six?
No, it's a V6.
A V6.
V6 Ford engine, Cosworth Ford engine.
Oh yes, the Cosworth.
Yeah,
that's
that
the
one,
bit I was missing.
It's wonderful. In
There's
concept.
only a couple of companies that can do like a race V6.
Yes,
V6s are
yes,
terrible. People don't know this,
and they were unreliable. That was their problem. But I got to race it in that. There was The Sims that made me love that car so much. I mean, it's cool as hell looking. Yeah. Big giant ass box flares, radiators in the back, so it comes in on those box flares. I mean, the car is business. Yeah, the car is 100% business from 1974. But the motor made like 400 and some horsepower and 9,500 RPM back in 1974 with
pump
a
gas,
V6.
Right? Pump gas?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So it was built to end the 935. That's why they built it.
I've heard a bit of this story and the little bit of drama that brought Cosworth into play with that. Yeah.
So that Ford wanted to beat the 935, and so that's why they built that car. And I think it beat it a couple times. But
how rare is this car?
I mean,
like to get. Well, I mean, are you talking about find one with race pedigree and like now?
No, I'm not, because I'm gonna drive the things. So I don't care if it has the pedigree. I just want it to be a car that's equal to that. Now, the real car is something to behold because it is an aerospace frame. I think there's like 10% of the original car on it. Yeah. And the rest of it is all space.
That's the one like the dude is holding the chassis over his head.
No, that's I think that is a 935.
Is it?
I think that's a 935.
Like they took a picture of one of the
chassis.
engineers. Yeah, bullshit.
And he's an engineer, so you know he can't bench like 40 pounds.
Hey, fuck you. I'm making gains.
It's a normal engineer.
Yeah. I'm not a normal one.
Yeah. So that would probably be number one track car. Yeah. RS 3100 1974. Car looks fantastic, blue and white livery. It's cool. Which I've always wondered, is it actually said livery? Is that what the British say? Or should it be livery? That's an internet debate. You guys can talk about that in comments.
Aluminium, whatever.
Aluminium is not a debate. I know this one. All right. So we're gonna side venture on this one.
We got two cars to cover. Don't let me forget.
Two cars. But aluminium. Aluminum, it comes from alum. Alum is the raw material that aluminum was refined from. The guy who successfully refined aluminum called it aluminum. The reporter that publicized the document thought it didn't sound correct, so he wanted it to sound like the other EMs at the time, and the reporter called it aluminium.
One guy fucked it up.
Yes, the article, the British guy that invented, I won't say invented, but refined aluminum, decided it was aluminum. The British reporter is the one that said it should be aluminium. So when the Brits ask about or say, you Americans can't say it, this is all internal. This is all you guys.
It's aluminum and magnesium, not aluminum.
Not aluminium.
Not aluminium, not is magnesium.
That is magnesium.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't researched it. We might find out it's the same thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to make that relation because you were like, not the other so the next one that came to mind was magnesium,
beryllium. Yeah. All these guys, they wanted it to sound like that. So the reporter changed the name. Just so you know, it's all British.
The fucking dumpster fire went out, man.
What? We lost the dumpster. It'll come back. What was right there?
I was just going to pick another one.
Oh, yeah.
Relight the dumpster fire.
There we go.
Nice and green.
Thank you
for fucking with all my settings, and it's awful now. So,
two cars.
Nope. Hang on. Got to nerd out just a little bit now. You got us off track. Do you know what ore aluminum is made from?
It's from alum is what it was, but I don't know any more than that.
The ore that it's mined for. Bauxite. Bauxite is the ore. And it's also known
you didn't think you were getting a chemistry lesson.
Geology or whatever. I don't know. But in rock nerd circles, bird's eye is what it's called, because it's like a kind of color my desk, like a sandy brown color, but it's got all these dark rings in it that are shaped kind of like bird's eye. And I know all this bullshit because I was born in Bauxite, Arkansas, where Alcoa was founded.
Oh, wow.
I grew up in a mining town in Arkansas, Bauxite, Arkansas. Everything there, like the post office, like the sign is held up, giant slab of bauxite. The high school football team is the Bauxite Miners, like the whole deal, dude.
Bauxite all the way.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I know too much about it.
That's cool.
Yeah, one of the most abundant elements in Earth's crust, and for some reason still expensive. I don't know. I guess they shut that thing down, that whole mining deal, in Arkansas when a giant deposit was discovered, I think in Jamaica, and the labor there
Way
like
cheaper.
fraction.
Yeah.
So my entire town like just died, evaporated, gone. Everything.
Straight up Allentowned it.
Yeah, like when I got out of there, population was like down to like low 800s. Like
Damn.
into nothing from a huge mining town, dude.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. So anyway, 2 cars. I nerded out.
Two cars. One was that. And this isn't a plug because I don't know the guy. I've never interacted with him. But
Which car is this? Hang on. Like we talked about the race car.
the race car is the RS3100
Yep.
Capri, 1974 Ford Capri. Because most people don't even know about it that are here in the States.
Yeah.
But it's not a
know
Mercury.
I know about the Ford Capri.
Yeah.
Only because my fabricator in Texas, Davy Jones, his dad's British, and he somehow wound up with a Ford Capri, like a real one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I mean,
I know what it is.
you can get them here. They're rare, but
Yeah.
I mean, a regular car.
Yeah.
You can get one here. You know,
Yeah,
but
that's
they're-
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He's got just a regular ass.
Yeah,
Capri.
yeah.
Some crazy body kit on it though. You should see this thing.
That's probably it. Then.
I'll
That's
get
the
him.
shit.
I'll get him to shoot me a picture of it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the track car for sure.
Yeah.
The cool car, and it's always a toss up because I hate convertibles.
I do too. That's weird. I didn't know that about you.
Despise them.
I don't like
Being out.
I
like
like
being
driving
out
fast, and I have no problem with motorcycles. Something about a convertible. I don't know.
When you drive fast on a motorcycle, you drive with a helmet,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
You drive fast, all right?
Yeah.
I rode one
Yes,
time.
Mom. Yeah.
I rode one time with a skull cap. One time. And I pulled over halfway to my destination and I called the people I was meeting. I said, you need to bring some headphones. I can't stand this shit.
Yeah.
I will never do it again. You know, I don't have a motorcycle now. I did for a little while. I am no speed demon on a motorcycle. I am a complete noob. But the amount of wind noise drove me insane. I was like, I can't do it. So being outside, I hated it. Every time I drive a convertible, and I wish it was recorded, but I had to drive a convertible to a car show one time.
Had to.
Yeah, it was some antique Mercedes. I forget which one it was for work. We were posting a couple cars there. But
Somebody fucking pigeonholed you into the convertible. Had to.
is that or a Land Rover?
Yeah, you had to. You had to.
I had to. I didn't want to walk. So, yeah, I drove one, and it would have been a perfect like video because he pulled up next to me in Land Rover. And he was like, "What do you think?" And I just went on a full perfect rant about how terrible and miserable it is being in the sun, hot, sweaty. He's smelling all the nasty shit and everybody's ass farts in the car shitting in front of you.
Person smoking 3 cars up.
Yeah, I'm like, fucking terrible. I hate convertibles. I hate being in an open car. But as a kid, and to some degree still is, my dream car is a Cobra, 427 Cobra. You know, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that one.
Yeah.
But it would be specifically a JBL Motorsports Cobra. JBL Motorsports makes a full monocoque chassis Cobra. I've worked on Cobras. I've actually got to drive them. Super Performance Cobras, never any originals, but Super Performance is as close as you're going to get without driving $1 million car. But I've driven those, Backdrafts, a couple other companies, Factory 5, and a couple other ones. And
They're all fun.
They're all fun until.
Wait, which 427?
What?
Like, well, there's a lot of iterations of the 427. Which would you have?
I'm not particular on that, but
I am. I'm a small block big displacement guy. So like the old big block 427.
No. See, that's what
car.
That's what I mean. I'm not hung up on having the period side oiler. No, I want to. I
don't want that fucking weight on the
I'll
nose.
be honest. Yeah, I'll be honest. Because that's the other thing for me is I'm gonna drive the car. So I don't care if it has that motor.
Yeah.
What I care about is the power. And it don't have to be 427. As long as it's got some real get up and go.
7 liters is a good number.
That's a huge amount. Yeah, I like it.
7 liters, 7,000 RPM. Like it's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, if you want a statement motor, you just buy the Boss 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just freaking this much of motor.
Yeah.
Was it 9 feet of chain for that thing?
Yeah.
Insane amount. But that car.
So what purpose does that car play?
So the reason is because the Cobra was my childhood dream car, I would say. That's the one I'm like, oh, that's cool.
But as Mark has shown us, you can hardtop those, and they look good.
And I've driven the hardtop one as well. But the problem is the inherent design of the car, which goes back to even an original Cobra. It's a body on a frame.
Yeah.
And maybe an aluminum Cobra might be a little different.
Yeah.
But all these fiberglass ones, as soon as you hit the parkway and you've got 8-foot chunks with a brake and an 8-foot chunk with a brake, and everything your hands are touching moves with every single bump, and you feel like you're driving a damn Power Wheels. And it drives me. I instantly, I got the one I drove that I was like, this is going to be the one that I'll like, is a backdraft Cobra. It was a backdraft. So it runs E36 suspension on it. So it has an E36 M3 front and rear suspension, differential. This one had a 351 and 427.
So you feel like it should feel like driving a BMW.
Nice car. It should feel like it should handle decent, right? Yeah. I was like, it'll handle pretty cool. This is cool. And it was a 427 stroker kit and a 351, and it had some cheap Chinese heads that didn't actually seal right, so they would actually leak oil from the head gasket because they were just that shitty of a head. Now, I will say, CNC ported, fully assembled, valves, rockers, springs, and everything. It was $499 for the pair.
I'm fucking terrified. I just, as an engine builder,
it made power.
As an engine builder, I would not let you put that down in my parking lot. Don't even bring that in the building. I
was surprised. I was like, holy crap. It's kind of like my $40 chair that I ordered for the office. I'm like, it's $40. Let's see what it's got.
$40 is $40.
So it was in our shop because of all various problems that it had. And so I actually sold the guy on some AFR heads. Like, you need some quality heads.
Yeah.
So we put some AFR heads on it, did some basic tuning to get it to where it was safe to drive. I said, you need to take it somewhere else to have it tuned. This was years ago, so I had not known you.
Yeah.
Or I would have definitely sent it here to be done right.
Yeah, get it over.
He went to place in Virginia Beach. I guess I shouldn't mention names.
I don't care.
Probably. Yeah, so he went up there, and this was years ago, so maybe different people, but he went there, and it was bad.
It did used to be a different shop.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a place in Virginia Beach that's not, I don't have a great reputation of it, but I'm not here to badmouth people.
Yeah.
So anyways, I put the AFR heads on it. It actually drove and ran good, but I was like, I don't think you should.
Did they die?
They did. And, yeah. I think they said it made like 510 or something like that. So not super amazing. I think it should have made more, but they were complaining about this or that. And I'm like, all I did was put the heads on it.
Yep.
Because I wanted to solve an oil leak. But to the same, they were complaining about like all the other things done with the car. I'm like, dude, this is a typical Cobra Kid car. Yeah. This is what you deal with.
Yeah.
But I drove the car and it was cool. It was fun to drive. It was nice. And I drove it through York County and went through the battlefields. And this is a cool car. I like this because I had to do some break in, make sure it was good.
Yeah, that was a little flashback to childhood there.
Yeah, exactly.
I dreamt of doing this. Here I am doing it.
Here I am, 427 Cobra. It's badass. It's it's got good suspension on it. And I hit the Parkway where they have those 8-foot brakes where they just lay down that, I don't know what it's called, but that like pale beige cobblestone crap. Not cobblestone, but pebblestone.
Whatever it is,
And every brake you would hit, everything would move. Everything would jitter. And it just made me sick. I was like, I hate this. This is what every one of these cars would feel like over a bump. I was like, no, this is terrible. And that's what a convertible feels like. Yeah. Every convertible car pretty much feels like that. The steering wheel moves when you hit a bump. And it feels like shit.
You don't think solid mounts would change a bunch of that?
I don't think
or not just solid, but like a nice mount, because I'm sure it had shit rubber mount.
It's just the whole car move.
Yeah.
Like what you're feeling is the
but you're
steering
saying you
column.
want one of the monocoque ones, like
Exactly.
So,
that was the
to
difference.
try to mitigate that bullshit.
Exactly. What you're feeling is everything that you're touching is bolted to fiberglass that's sitting on a frame. The frame probably feels great, but you feel everything through fiberglass. I'm
trying to defend this car because I love Corvettes.
Yes, but
I know what you're saying, dude.
But I would say
every C3 that comes in here, I try to rip all of the stock steering out and throw it in the trash and put just a nice power steering box on it. Get rid of the rag joint. Like I go through it with almost all of them, and every one I've done it to, and I got to do it to a C2. Every one of them, they're like, holy shit, I should have done this 20 years ago or whatever, however long they've had the car. Like, it completely changes the feel of the car, and suddenly it's a sports car. Like, it doesn't just look like one. Like, it feels nimble. Like, you get rid of all that stock.
Well, it's not a steering input. It's not I'm not critiquing the steering. I'm critiquing that I'm touching something. You put your hand on the dashboard and you would feel the same thing. Because the car is just flexing.
Yeah. Corvettes are terrible about it.
Yeah, that's the part I don't like.
C1s, 2s, 3s.
Shitty steering? I tracked a Crown Victoria. I'm used to that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But it's a shitty chassis.
There's a shitty disconnect in those cars, man.
Yeah.
Like, you see the car hit a bump and then you feel it. Like, it's terrible.
All right, we got to edit this one out. This will get edited. So this is a control issues.
Johnny was the responsible one. He pre-hydrated for the podcast. Now it's coming back to haunt him. We were promised a beer delivery. What happened to that? I was supposed to get some Guinness knockoffs or some shit. What happened to my beer delivery? We're timing this piss. I think he's like over the 20-second mark. He's got a fucking bladder like a cantaloupe, I think. Well, since we're already mid-edit, we should open the Blantons, I think.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we had some Blantons.
Cue the Austin Powers skit there. Do the honor, sir.
I was like, he was the responsible one and pre-hydrated for the podcast. Now he's paying for it. We're supposed to rinse the glasses or whatever. We're not. We're not fucking civilized.
No. We'll be real hooligans and follow it up with a booker or something.
Put the paint on at the end. Hell yeah. Why not?
I look at this trait here.
Yeah. I think I bumped mine.
Yeah. I think I'm going to run into it with the chair. So.
Yeah, fuck it.
All right. There we go.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got damn good taste in whiskey, sir. No secret to anybody around here. So,
yeah, so
convertibles suck, but you want one.
Yeah.
It's not a Miata, so I'm proud of that. Nothing against Miata, guys. Please, race all of them, blow them up. I don't care. LS swap them. It's great.
The answer is always Miata, but I hate convertibles, so I will never. Yeah. But yeah, so the JBL, I found it online. They make a full, it's steel. It's nothing like, I mean, I'm sure JBL Motorsports would be like, no, it's elaborate, but it's a solid chassis, and I'm like, this is great. The steering wheel is bolted to the chassis, not to a piece of fibery resin on top of a chassis.
Right.
And so I'm like, this is exactly what I would want to have if I were to have one of those. And they actually made it.
Are they outrageous? Like, are they?
No, I think they're like, for what they are. I mean, they're cantilevered inboard suspension. Like they're nice, So
like
I think
competitive with Factory 5. Like, I don't know.
They'd be way beyond them.
Okay.
Factory 5 is a budget. I mean, they're a race car, but they're very budget for a reason, so that you can just go race them.
Yeah.
And you could throw them away when they get crumpled up. It's no big deal.
That's gonna hurt some feelings, but I agree with him.
I mean, it's meant to be a budget. That's why I use a stock 5.0, a stock T5, and a freaking 8.8 rear end. It's, whatever.
Yeah.
Which I guess 15 years ago those were available.
They're still laying around.
Yeah.
Somebody hasn't finished theirs.
Yeah, right.
We had a guy come in here. Like, I've got it most of the way together. I don't want to bring it to your shop because that would be a hassle. How about, like, I just treat you guys to some drinks and some dinner, and you guys come finish my car at my house? Dude had balls, like, I don't know, brought him in a wheelbarrow to just... I introduced myself as the shop owner, and that's what he said. I'm like, look, man, that
unless you got Pappy 21 years on tap. Yeah. On tap.
Like, you don't understand. Like, I ain't coming for beer.
You better be flying a Japanese sushi chef to come in.
Yeah. Right.
This ain't worth it.
Yeah. I said, you do understand. Like, I do this for a living. Yes. This is my passion, my hobby, everything. I can't work for beer and pizza, bro. Yeah. I didn't say bro. I said sir.
Yes.
And Eric loves those cars. He's like, man, I'm tempted to do it. And I was like, don't get roped into that, dude.
Oh, no.
Like, yeah.
It's endless.
It's awesome to help somebody with a problem. But this guy took on a full-on build by himself in his 2-car garage and is overwhelmed. And I was just like, don't do it.
One of the things...
Never heard back from him.
Yeah. One of the things that I've tried to do on purpose, and it partially works with my antisocial side, is that not to say that I really am. I mean, I as you've seen, I can talk to people, so I don't consider myself antisocial. But
I think you're selective, and I think that's just a matter of intelligence, dude. Yeah,
it's calculated. I don't know if it's intelligence, but but yeah, I don't tell a lot of people that I work on cars. Where I live, I don't talk to my neighbors, but that's not antisocial. I mean, it just kind of is. Like the downside with knowing your neighbors and talking to your neighbors is
will you do a steering rack on my camera?
Yeah, no.
I'm not a mechanic, dude.
I'm good.
I tell everybody I'm not a mechanic.
Yeah.
I am an engineer. I am an engine builder. And I am a tuner. I'm not a mechanic. Yeah. You don't want me to tell you if your car will pass inspection, dude. Yeah. The shit I do is not about inspection.
Yeah. I will make you fail.
Yeah. I avoid warranties. I want a shirt that says that.
That's perfect. Bad company. We avoid warranties.
I avoid warranties, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't really put that out there for most people because I'm not trying to get roped into stuff.
Yeah.
And
see, that's intelligence.
And well, that's one of the things that makes me like you so much. When we first met, I don't know if I ever told you the story, the first dyno session, but so I needed a dyno. I needed it quick. Desperation. I reached out to Jordan. He told me to reach out to you, and you're like, "Yeah, bring it down."
That's wild, dude. Like, yeah. The fact that you knew him and I knew him, I knew Jordan from school.
Which, I mean, Jordan knows everybody.
He really does, dude. And this is
he needs to be here.
This is fucked up on a lot of levels, and I'm going to say it, and I hope he sees this. But for real, Jordan is like the Pope. It's fucked up. You know why?
He's the drifting Pope.
Of just the car community, dude. Like, he brings so many people together, and he knows everybody from drag racing, street racing, drifting. He probably knows all the donk guys. Like, he's so chill.
He is.
And he just fits in with anybody that he wants to.
Yeah.
You know, that he's just made himself like this person that knows the car community, not a portion of it. Like, I've run into just the most random people that know Jordan. Like, yeah, he did the inspection on my uncle's 85 Ford F-150. Like, you know, he was the guy that got the EGR system working again or whatever. Like, what? Yeah, I believe that about Jordan, though, dude. Like, but anyway, first dyno session.
So, you know, when I needed a dyno, in my mind, I'm like, the reality is that I was like, I can change the jets in this car. I know how to change it to do what I need it to do. I was like, but what I don't know is like, I don't have a lot of dyno experience. I don't have a lot of real engine tuning experience. Yeah. So it'd be nice to have somebody to like tell me like, this is a good idea.
This is safe or it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I rent the dyno to somebody, which I do very rarely, it's got to be the right person. I'll let people come in and do pulls, and I manage that, or Josh does. But very rarely do I just say, "Here's the dyno for a day."
Yeah.
But it's got to be the right kind of person that's not going to tear my shit up.
Yeah.
And not make a mess that I have to clean up. So I'm very selective about that. So you came highly recommended.
I really appreciate that, Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan has introduced me to so many people that not just, he brought me business, but like friends, dude. Like I've made so many, you being one of them, so many good friends, you know. Just Jordan's just like, you two need to know each other, dude. Like,
I mean, I hang out at work, home, and here.
Yeah.
That's it. And then the racetrack.
Same. Yeah. That you just nailed, like, well, I go to the gym in the morning, but like, I don't
even do that. I
don't hang out there. I got headphones in, turn all the way up, and I don't talk to people there, dude. That is the least social place for me, dude. I am not there for conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But Jordan, I don't know, man. He's like some kind of Pope matchmaker or something for the car community. This is going to turn into a meme somehow, dude. It's going to be great. Has there ever been
This is a Jackie project for sure.
Oh yeah, we'll put the Jewish curls on him, but the papal hat, papal, whatever that. I don't know how to say it.
It might even be right, but it's still funny sounding.
Yeah. The little carriage that they carry him in, but like with Cadillac emblems on it.
Yeah.
Suddenly, Jordan wasn't my friend anymore. He needs to come up here.
He definitely does.
I hadn't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
Missed that dude. Anyway.
So I needed a dyno to get this car tuned because I forget what I had changed on it that really
Is
needed.
That when you went to the McCoonies or?
No, it's been McCoonies the whole time, but I changed something on there. I don't know if it was the first time I was tracking
There was some weird shit about you put a muffler on it. Too. Like that was one of our first conversations.
That was a neat dyno. We'll show you that after the intro, but after the Mike intro. But so I just needed a dyno. In my mind, I was like, I just need a dyno so I can do some stuff. I really don't want somebody who's going to keep me out of the equation. I was like, because I'm a hands-on person. I'm like, that's part of why I do everything on my cars is because I want to be sure that it was done right, and if it was wrong, I know who to blame.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to. You know, I've had terrible experiences.
I'm going to say it again. You're humble.
I've had terrible experiences with every company I've ever dealt with, almost exclusively in my entire life. I was like, there's two places. One, here, obviously, because I'm still here. But the other one, I will say, I don't know if they're still around. I hope they are. But Piper Motorsports, they did a fantastic job in my cage in a very short time, under budget.
Where they?
Never had that experience. They're in Northern Virginia. I think Manassas area, sort of.
I love giving people a shout out.
Yeah. Well,
and cage work ain't no joke.
Yeah,
People's lives are on the line, dude.
Shout out to them. I mean, they're comfortable. They're doing what they want to do.
Piper, like the plane.
Piper Motorsports. Yeah, if you get them to want to do your cage, like you want them to do anything. They do full builds, you know, but they do very, very cool custom builds. They did a V10 E30. They built the whole dash, fabricated. The whole dashboard, was fabricated. It looked like an E30 dashboard. It's a little bit better in every way.
Yeah.
You know, they've done an E63. They did an E63 chassis underneath a 190 and Evo body kitted it. I mean, they did phenomenal work, but
That's a different level.
But the quality was on point, and that's something you don't find in a lot of places, you know. And it
I've seen a lot of like
some shit welds,
flux core,
crappy
fucking
welds.
cages.
Yeah.
Oh, you can cuss, dude.
I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind flux core, you know, or not flux core. I don't mind MIG. Yes, sorry, not flux core.
I've seen flux core cages, dude.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah,
So,
like fence post flux core.
that's terrible.
Like, you see,
Fence post.
I'm serious, dude. You see terrible shit in this business. And,
Oh, dude. I mean,
and then you try to tell the customer.
I've been to Chump Car. Like,
Yeah.
you've seen some terrible shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and you try to tell people like, I'm not telling you this because I'm trying to make money off of you. Like, your life is in danger, dude.
Yeah.
I could kick the bars out of your cage. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's the reality, you know. I've seen some impressive crashes. There was, I think it was summer of last year, there was an E30 crash at VIR, and you rarely see cars that are like decimated.
Yeah.
But it was at the end of the back straightaway, and he like touched or something, went sideways, so it was in dirt straight across, and they built a new barrier so that you can't drive to the next portion of the track.
like over there, like Patriot or whatever.
There was a crash with. Oh, I just touched it.
It's still there. It's right there.
But there was a crash a while back where some car, I forget what it was, probably BMW, but I think he drove across there at the end of the straightaway and T-boned a 911, and it's bad because the corner, it goes to the left a little bit and then it hairpins right, and so you're probably at like a, you know, the obtuse angle is probably like maybe 110 degrees. So you're almost dead nuts hitting them on the side.
Yeah.
You know, you're just
There's
straight
no
up
recovery.
No, it's straight up T-boned them.
Yeah.
You know, doing over 100 miles an hour. Doing a 100-mile-an-hour T-bone, like that's
after you've like greased your tires up with grass and dirt. And whatever.
Like you're hurting, dude.
Yeah.
That can end people's lives. So that's why they built that wall. As much as a lot of people hate it, and your cars are probably going to get trashed when you run into it. Don't run into the wall. I guess that's the camera. Yeah. Don't run into the wall. But
make the fucking turn.
Yeah, exactly. But so this guy had a weird incident where they touched, and he ended up going into the grass left, ended up going right, and he nailed that wall head on. And according to the comment, I think it was like 89 miles an hour to 0 in like 6 feet. With the tire compression and the front end compression, because it was all to the cage, dude. Yeah. And walked away. That's a good crash.
That is kudos to the cage builder. Right there.
Absolutely.
Like without it, you die.
Yeah,
and probably the other guy, you know.
Yeah. I mean, one or two shitty welds, and that would have been in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
people
the
don't
difference.
Understand how easy it is to fold a car in half.
And keep in mind, this is a stock 1980s BMW. We're not talking about some high performance 800 horsepower car. We're talking about 169 limited wheel horsepower.
Yeah. We're
not talking fast. You know, he's maybe doing 120.
It's still a 2,000-pound bullet.
It was an 89 mile an hour crash, you know? So, you know, this is where people don't appreciate the value of a cage
and why,
in your life.
Why is it expensive?
Yeah, exactly. You know,
because it's more expensive if you fucking die in it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe not. It's for the next guy.
Yeah.
But, you know, so anyways, Piper Motorsports did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So back to coming here.
Yeah.
This is where this started. Man, this might be a 3-hour one.
We're over 3 hours, but that's with a minute and a half piss break too.
Yeah. So, coming here, I got the car on the dyno. We did some pulls. I'm like, I'm just meeting this epic bearded dude, and you know, we do the dyno pulls, and I'm like, kind of reaching a point. I'm like, all right, well, what do I do at this point? And I bounce some ideas off of you, and you kind of bounce back, and I'm like, listening to what you're saying, and you're talking about different stuff, and I'm like, this isn't like talking to a guy who does hot rods. I was like, there's something different here. I was like, I've talked to a lot of car guys, and I've talked to other shop owners and other hot rod builders.
You deal with a lot of them.
Yeah, and really, no offense to rednecks, but feel like you're talking to a hillbilly, redneck hillbilly. Like, I've done this 100 times. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Did you do it right 100 times, or did you just do it 100 times?
Right.
You know. And I could tell right then. I was like, "There's something." This guy knows.
Wait, am I the redneck?
We're talking about Mike now.
Am I the redneck?
So I was like, we're talking about Mike here. I was like, he knows what's actually going on. There's fundamental knowledge.
Yeah.
It's very different from, practical knowledge. Having practical knowledge, I'm not saying it's not worth a lot, because that's the difference between me and you, is you have practical knowledge.
Yeah.
And it takes years to get that. That's actually why I went into the auto repair industry, because I was like, I can gain practical knowledge on what fails and what doesn't fail and why it might fail or why it doesn't fail, and I've gained a lot in that, like from a perspective that I probably won't use that much as I now know. But
man, if it's in your pocket.
Yeah. Like you said, small valve guides, tiny bit of wear means it's fucked.
Yeah.
So that's the downside with small guides.
The clearances are tighter.
Yeah. And so when you have a little bit of wear, the guide is now ruined. So you have way less. It seems mundane, and it probably is to everybody watching the video. But to the 3 engineers watching it, they're like, "Oh yeah, I get it.
It's fucked. We know."
But yeah, I picked up on it pretty quick. I was like, this guy has fundamental knowledge. Yeah. I was like, that's something I don't get from most people, and why I don't normally ask other people for help. Yeah. I was like, because practical knowledge at this point, I've gotten most of that. And I was like, there's definitely guys that'll teach me some shit I've never seen, because I've seen way more. And that's why I wanted it from you on this perspective, because I haven't done any dynoing or whatever. But I was like, this guy actually knows what's going on. And like,
I appreciate that. I don't ever get that.
Oh, dude, it's huge, because it's one of the big things in my life. And I know I'm, you just talked about how humble I am. I'm not trying to be arrogant about it, but I really feel like having done it and experienced it and doing it is a huge part of the equation of knowing how to do something and do it right. But understanding what's going on that you can't see is the other half. And I'd say half of the equation. You're
touching on one of my big teaching points to all of my interns, man. I tell them, the more you know, and I got this from Judson Massengill. He's one of my greatest mentors, dude. The more you learn, the more you get into this, the more you realize you don't know.
Yep.
And if you can maintain that mindset as you go through these different builds or whatever, in my case, these different experiences, if you just realize you don't know everything about every car that comes on the dyno, you're keeping your mind open to learning. And that is so critical, dude.
Yep.
And I have to step back sometimes. I do. Take a step back, think about this from a different angle. There's something going on here I haven't seen yet.
I remember where our conversation started when we started talking about where my job was.
Okay.
All right.
Fine.
All right. We can go back.
This is going to be a hard edit.
Hard edit. Okay. No, we can finish that. The keeping an open mind.
Yeah, but that was it. And I don't know, maybe that's what you picked up on with me. I've never worked on a carbureted 73 road course race Celica. But I just approach it with, I know a good bit about tuning carburetors. That's a huge part of my background. Mm-hmm. And endurance cars. I worked on a good bit of those. Fortunate in that matter, growing up in the circle track world, dude. Endurance motors are a different fucking beast.
Yes, they are.
To tune, to keep alive, to maintain.
Yep.
So, really fortunate in that. And maybe that's what you picked up on there. But
I can tell I picked up on the fundamental understanding of how things were working. I can tell you that. I know exactly. You knew the physics behind it and the chemistry behind it and the thermodynamics behind it. And that's something not a lot of people have. Coincidentally, we both experienced that knowledge gaining through the same avenue.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that.
No, you didn't know that.
It was actually months later, somebody else asked you about the papers on the wall.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's my ODU degree. And I looked at it and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I remember that. It was a car meet night or something, yeah.
Yeah.
But I've always kept that, I know what I'm doing. Obviously, I have the confidence to run this business on a day-to-day. But everything that pulls up in this parking lot, man, I approach it like just as open as I can. Like everything that shows up here has got a problem.
Yeah.
Nothing is ready to jump straight on the dyno. Somebody left gas in it for 2.5 years or whatever. I just there's
Stuff happens.
There's always an anomaly, dude. There's always a vacuum leak or something.
Yeah.
There's and if you try to just throw your tuning experience at everything that comes in here the same way,
Yep.
the shit ain't gonna stick, dude. Like you're not gonna be a good tuner.
Anybody who's never been to a dyno, 98% of the time spent on a dyno is not tuning. It's figuring out what the heck is wrong.
Yeah. It is the greatest diagnostic tool that I have ever owned. Most expensive.
Yeah.
But it is awesome for just diagnostics.
Yeah.
Something that some of my customers don't even know their car has ever been on a dyno because we're not doing power pulls.
Yeah.
We'll just put it up there and load it and make it misfire so that I can figure out what the hell's going on. Get a solid, clean data log of it misfiring.
Well, we've had so many incidents where it'd be like, man, it'd be really nice if we had a dyno.
Yeah.
It'd be really nice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You can't run along the car at 40 miles an hour and figure out what's shaking in the ass end.
You can't.
But we did it recently with a G8 that's here. Just awful vibration at speed. Not high speed. Put it on the dyno, and this thing is freaking wheel hopping, dude.
Yeah.
And the bushings in the rear end looked okay, but under load, dude, they just gave out, and the tires were going different directions. I've never seen it happen on the dyno. It was sketchy as fuck, but it's a great diagnostic tool, not just for engines and transmission, but even suspension.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my experience. When I came here, I could tell you had fundamental knowledge, and that's a huge gain to me because I think practical knowledge is huge. There's a lot of things that you won't learn in a school. School will never teach you everything you need to know.
No.
But the world will not teach you everything you need to know either.
Which is why I did both. So,
yep. That's exactly it, you know.
ODU, Sam Tech, TCC. One of my mentors from TCC, Larry Nobles, just passed away, man. He's the guy that taught me to build manual transmissions. Like he helped me build the transmission that's in my Corvette. Like that's the one of the biggest moments I've had with Larry. The dumpster fire had a commercial breakdown. But I met so many cool people in the automotive field at each one of these schools that I went to, man.
Yeah.
And I've got mentors from each one, and you've got to have both. I think if you want to run a shop like this, I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you don't, you know, you're one of those shops that disappears in half the time you've been here.
Yeah.
You know, that's my perspective on it, you know, from the outside. I mean, you can. There's two things that ruin most businesses, and that's not knowing how to do it and poor management.
I suck at management. I want to be friends with all my guys because like we're all car guys, and I have a problem. Like I want to talk about their projects when they get here in the morning. Like I gotta stop. I gotta stop. You gotta get to work. Yeah.
There's a clock. I'm paying for it, and God damn it, I'm the one talking it off.
Yeah. I'm bad about it, dude, because I want to know.
Yeah. It is, but I think those are the two things in my perspective from a shop. Not that I have like business knowledge and skill,
you've been in the game, dude. You know.
But I mean, the reality is like, you know, the financial side of it is one of the main killers of most small business, and that's well known. That's not my knowledge. That's just what you read online. But you know,
we don't.
But I think the
enough.
killer.
We don't charge enough. Like we barely keep ourselves a fucking alive, dude. We help so many people.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that like there's a fine line between caring and hurting yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, you know, it's hurt at my shop, but it's the 3 B's. We didn't break it, build it, or buy it. And that's something to just keep in mind, you know, from a customer or a shop perspective. Like when you feel for somebody and you're like, look, they're in a crappy situation, you weren't the one that bought that car. You didn't build that car. Now, that might not be your case, and I know you.
No, it happens.
I know you. If you built it, you take care of it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Is that we stand by the work we do at our shop, at Auto House. We stand by that. And
but if it comes in just completely
and
fucked.
it sucks. It's like, you want to help the guy. It's not that I don't.
And they come in mad.
They do. They come in angry. They're really upset.
Your first order of business isn't even talking about the car. You got to calm them down.
Yeah, exactly. But
like, dude, we can't do business.
Was it the seven cycles
guy.
Yeah, the 7 cycles of grief or whatever. Yeah. Anger is like 6 of them. But
it's like being the rebound guy constantly.
Yes.
You got this chick that's just mad at her ex constantly. It's like
yep.
It makes me hate other shops sometimes.
Yeah,
dude.
it does. It does. It's rough.
I've seen flux core welded aluminized steel exhaust on
we see some shoddy repair
$100,000 cars, dude.
Yeah. We see some shoddy work on regular repairs.
They'll
and
come
service.
in I think my engine's knocking.
I can't imagine the stuff.
It's this janky exhaust just beating against the floor when they get on it.
Yeah. Has anybody welded the exhaust to the floor?
To the floor, no, but solid end to end where you can't even take the exhaust out of the car. We've seen that a few times.
Yeah, we had that happen too. And we had to pull the trans, and we're like, we sold the car, we bought it from auction, it sold before we got the truck, right?
Yeah.
And then the guy that bought it was very particular about his truck, and it had a transmission, whatever. And we got GM to warranty the transmission because they had an extended warranty. But it was just like, we got to pull the trans, and we're like,
it's welded in there.
Yes, the whole exhaust is one piece side exit.
Yeah.
Like
cut
this,
it off.
I got to cut it off.
Yeah. Now you're selling an exhaust job. Yeah.
Yeah. Internally, because, we sold the truck, and it's 1 week away.
Yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah, it's whatever. We got to eat it, which, whatever. We managed to clamp it back together, and we got it to where it worked, but I was like,
fuck the next guy.
It's just dude, it's like, this is just terrible. Like, why would you make an exhaust like this,
You remembered how we got on to.
Oh.
Fuck, you forgot.
What did we get on to? Brake rotors. Okay.
Yeah.
Getting people to accept knowledge, understanding that they don't know what they don't know. So, and I don't know how people are going to receive this. I know how it's been received by almost every mechanic that I've talked to.
We've got 300 viewers, dude.
Yeah, right. One of them might care.
This might be the one that breaks the internet. Johnnie.
Yeah.
Lucky Lackey was on.
Rotor warpage. So your brakes are vibrating, your steering wheel's chopping, whatever. It's not very often, but from time to time, we have a car come in and it has warp rotors, and we put rotors on it, and it comes back not right away. It comes back 3 to 6 months later, and the rotors are warped again. We put another set of rotors on, and it comes back 3 to 6 months later.
This happened with Dave Damick's car.
So here's what I found on this. If you measure the run out on the hub, actual face of the hub,
yeah,
you'll find that it's out by 1 or 2 thousandths, which you're like, whatever, who cares? It's not the hub you're measuring, though. So the rust on the rotor, you rust on the backside, and then parts on there, and you take your whiz wheel, which is just like a really aggressive Brillo pad.
Yeah.
Dish cleaning Brillo pad. Dish cleaning Brillo pad. I don't want to sound too drunk.
Yeah, we don't get that.
But so you take that on there, and you're like, oh, it's clean. It doesn't do anything to that. That material, that iron oxide that is on there is so hard, it does not care about your Brillo pad. And so every time I've had this situation at our shop where we've had a rotor come back 2 times and it was warped, except for one. I do have one that is currently pending. It's on the second set of rotors it was warped a second time. But this is an auction car. So anyways, moving on. But as of now, all these cars have had this problem, and it was pretty early on I dealt with this as well. We had one that was given to me when I think I'd only been there a year or so. And they're like, yeah, this is the 4th set of rotors we put on. Customer has to be driving through a puddle or something. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, and it's an old lady, and I'm like, there's no way, as much as you may want to convince yourself that they're riding the brake.
She ain't getting them that hot.
Yeah. I was like, they're not riding the brakes. They've been driving for 80 years. This ain't their first car.
Right.
You know, I was like, you know, and they're not driving through puddle. We live in York County. Everything's perfect. The roads are flat. This is York County.
Yeah.
You know, so something. Oh, my wife.
Are you still alive? Yeah.
Yeah. She's asking, how's it going? It's going great. I will text you in just a second. I got to finish this thought. But so what I found on this particular car.
We still got to get back to the third car, too.
Third car. Yes, we still got a third car. But so what I found is on this particular Mercedes that we had this problem with over and over again, I was like, something doesn't seem right about this hub. I was like, not the rotor. I got the rotor off, and I'm looking at the surface where the rotor bolts onto it, the flat surface. I was like, something doesn't look right. I was like, I've whiz-wheeled this. It looks flat. It doesn't look perfect. I was like, but it looks, I've whiz-wheeled it. Nothing else coming off. And I looked at it. I was like, something doesn't look right. It looks like a coating on there. And I took an angle grinder to a Mercedes hub. I took an angle grinder to it, and the dust came off red. I mean, this tells me something.
You were just polishing the scale.
Yes, exactly. And so I kept hitting it with an angle grinder, and then I saw machine marks. And I was like, it's not the hub that's rusted. It's the rotor that rusts, and it deposits on the rotor. And it is so hard that you will not clean it with anything but an angle grinder. You need to grind the hub clean.
Yeah.
And I ground that until I could see all the original machine marks. Put it back on, and she never came back for brakes again. And I have showed this to probably 3 techs, and they straight up refused to accept the knowledge. I've put dial indicators on it, showed them, I've ground it off in front of them, and they refuse to believe that that's the problem. And that comes from a I know everything perspective.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I know everything, but if you can't accept new knowledge, then you will never grow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That is where we were 40 minutes ago?
45, yeah. Hour ago. Whatever.
Yeah.
Still relevant.
Some time ago.
My guys, I've got a really good group of guys right now, dude. And it's been hard to even build. Like, we got a small team. It's been hard to build this, especially the economic times right now. But the guys I got are smart, and they will argue some of the most obtuse bullshit. Like, it amazes me sometimes, and I, on one side, like, I fucking applaud them. Like, okay, yeah, if this is your fight, whatever, we'll do it. I'm gonna win. Like, every now and then, one of them gets me. You know, I'll admit that. Every now and then, one of them shows me something, and I love that.
Yeah,
you know, that means they're still learning, they're still getting it, and they've seen some shit I haven't. That's the team you want. But I try to teach every one of them here something every day, and I toot my own horn a little bit. I think it trips them out because I'm pretty successful at that.
Mm-hmm.
I can show them something, you know.
It's a rewarding feeling.
Yeah, and I mean,
really
it's part of being a leader.
Maybe it's self-serving, but damn, it feels good just to like teach somebody and to see them actually learn something, and you see their light bulb will go off, and you know that the reality is that hopefully, and most of the time, they start to take that on their own and they go seek out information. Well, it's awesome.
I see them do it to each other.
Yeah,
like, you know, they realize that's the kind of team we are. You know.
Yeah.
We're competitive, but we're also on the same team. You know, at the end of the day, you want to see the guy finish the project that he's working on and it be good for the shop.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of shit talking, a lot of banter, and a lot of I could have done that a little faster than what you did.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that, and that's just good. It's just good vibes for the team. But at the end of the day, if somebody's struggling, everybody tries to put their brain on it, chip in, and just fucking get it done, which is what we want.
Yeah.
Third car.
You know, that is one I don't know, honestly. I can't say it because really those 2 cars are the 2 cars that I've thought about. And you might think
Fords.
That, so you might.
I'm really surprised at the 2 Fords.
So you might, you might not be surprised about the 2 Fords. I mean, my father was a Ford mechanic.
No, I get that.
So, I mean, I've been around it, but so really it's not like, I don't want to say I'm a Ford fanboy because I'm really not.
I thought you were going to say something gay. Fucking R32 Skyline bullshit.
Yeah.
I was already prepared for it. I was going to do another shot. So actually, pleasant surprise.
No, I'm not.
Pleasant surprise. Not bad.
Much like my wife. If it's like what does he call it? I forget what, because he knows.
What's the finish that? But like, what is the gangster? I'm gonna go get some fucking $40 a piece sushi tonight. The cruiser, the gangster cruiser that would be in your stable. But what were you saying about your wife?
She actually knows what word I want to say, but
I have a question about her.
I can only answer a couple. But you can ask.
It won't be nothing personal. Yeah.
I don't know. You gotta ask the question. It's gone.
No, you gotta answer what is like that gangster take the wife to town, the cruiser, the one you're like, yeah, valet that. Like what would it be?
The thing is, I'm not really in the valet that. When you say that,
I valeted my wagon, bro. It was awesome.
I know,
it's
but
just fun.
There's a piece of me that like I really don't like that. Like
James was a valet.
I don't want a car. I have never had a desire to have a car that other people envied. And it almost...
That's not what I mean.
That's what it is.
That's not what I mean.
The term,
not something somebody envies.
My wife, she would know what word to say. Is it something like a popular, a verse or something like that? But she says it multiple times. So basically, if people like it, I don't like it. If people are into it, if it's popular, some reason I am repelled by it.
Yeah.
It's just I'll admit it's a shortfall because sometimes people like stuff that's good, and I'm like,
rarely.
I can't do it.
Rarely nowadays, dude.
Yeah.
Pop culture is bullshit.
I'm not culture-wise, holy crap. But
what is popular is trash.
Yeah, but it's basically if it's popular, I'm averse. It's like Mustangs. It's like, yeah, they're kind of cool and all, but they're so popular. It's the sole reason why I will never drive a Mustang, and it's not that it's a bad car. It's actually, especially now, holy crap, they're phenomenal machines.
The past 12, 15 years, Jesus. Like, the improvements, it's not even the same platform. It's insane.
It's not. And it's hard to even compare it to a lot of cars because it has handling performance. It has engine performance. It has the whole package now. Like, if you want to compare it, you need to start comparing it to European sport cars, and which is amazing. But I still I don't want, if it's what people want, it's not what I want. Yeah. I don't know why that is. It's just something about me. But so, when it comes to like, when it comes to like people valeting my car, I'm like, I never want something that I'm like, when you say that term, like, valeting my car, I'm like, I never want to have a car that people.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the place you go to that you got to valet. Like there's no parking your own car. Like there's some restaurants like that. Like there's no parking. Like you have to valet. So what's the car you're taking your wife to that restaurant? What is?
Man, that's a hard question to ask. Because
what is that beautiful, just gangster, spoil your wife yourself? What's that car?
I mean, based on what you're exposed to, because I haven't been exposed to everything in the world, but I mean, a 740, old 740 E38, like I will have to say, I think that was on.
It says something about
Jason Statham drove one for a little bit in one of his movies, but I like the way that car looks, and really, it's boxy, it's simple, but it's clean, and I like that. I think it's arguably, in my opinion, one of the best looking period BMWs. Not period by like that era, but I mean period.
Yeah.
E28 is a good looking car. You can make a good looking sports car. You can make a good looking this car or that car. But in my opinion, as a luxury car to drive in or be in, that 740 is plain enough, is clean enough, and is nice enough to really be an ideal car for that. It really is. And coincidentally, the 740 has an M62 engine, which has got to be, not from a stat standpoint, and this might sound weird, not to you, but everybody else, from a feel standpoint, that engine is amazing. It feels like a 1UZ, but even a little bit better. It's the smoothest, most consistent torque delivering. Just feels like a nice engine.
Have you ever driven an LT5 car? A C401?
No. It probably would be similar because that's a 4-valve engine.
You're right.
Yeah. Probably would be very similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I would group it with that. M62, 1UZ, LT5, probably would all fall in the same displacement. They're in that medium displacement range. They're 4-valve per cylinder. They're a little bit old school management, so they were probably running a little on the fat side, so they didn't feel like shit. Yeah. You know, it does. It feels good.
The LT5 is 16 injectors.
Yeah. It
for a 5.7 liter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't even make crazy power.
No.
But it feels good. You know,
450 crank.
Yeah. Oh, the M62 might be 250. I don't know. It's low, but it feels good. It's something about it. It feels smooth.
That was the remarkable thing about the LT5, just how smooth it was for making the power it did.
Yeah.
They couldn't believe it. Like they stood a nickel.
Yep.
On its end or some shit like that. Mm-hmm. When they unveiled it, started the engine, stood a nickel on its end. And the guy gave like a 30-minute presentation on like the engineering that went into it, the partnership with Mercury Marine, the whole deal, like the background studies with Lotus, everything that went into it. Half-hour speech about it. The nickel was still standing there.
Yeah.
Like just smooth,
I remember seeing a video online on 1UZ where it stuck a quarter on the end.
Yeah, that was the thing.
It took it to 7,000 RPM and then took it back and it stood up there.
Standing there, yeah.
I was like, that's cool. I mean, it's stupid. It doesn't have anything with performance, but it's still cool from an engineering standpoint.
Very smooth.
And there's something about that motor.
If you understand how violent the internal combustion engine is, it is amazing to get one to run smooth.
Yep.
It's never my goal. I don't do anything that runs smooth.
Yeah, right.
You can't put a soda in your fucking cup holder. By the
way. My dad explained one time we were talking about emissions. I'm sure it's the bane of your existence.
I gotta tap out, dude. Now I gotta go. I gotta break the seal.
This is a good Texas light.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna fuck your mic up.
That's all right. We'll put it back.
Nope. Damn it. That thing needs a desk mount.
It does. Think we're going for 30 seconds here? I mean, we started the clock, so. Yeah, still going. But can he do the start and stop like Austin Powers? No, just steady stream. Peter and all. 37 stat. Almost clear.
Let her know you're good. You're still
Yep.
here. You're still alive.
Good, still alive.
Didn't kidnap you.
Yeah. How long has it been?
Just now 3 hours. I thought we were.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're doing good. Yeah. Your mic's dropped a little bit for some reason.
Happens with age. Probably kicked it when I got it. Maybe. I don't know.
Car
All
3,
right.
though. Car 3 is a tough one.
Car 3 is tough, man.
You know, I've had a lot of people ask me, because you've seen me with this Celica and how much I put effort into that Celica. You know, it's
You're way away.
yeah. So you've seen how much I've put into that Celica, and I've had people ask me at the track, like, man, you must really love these cars. And I'm like, And it seems kind of silly to, like, you know, devote over 10 years, you know, I guess almost 20 years now. God, I've had that thing for a long time, you know.
But it's what you got.
It's what I got.
Yeah.
And I do have some attachment to the car from some history, but
Yeah. No way you can't.
in the way, yeah. But
I would fucking call you a liar if you
yeah,
said
but I'm not a Celica fanatic, and which might sound weird because I mean I used to actually help host first gen Celica forum, you know, and I was very active. But I was also active in the Crown Vic community, grandmarquis.net. You know, I did a lot of work on there.
Yeah.
You know, but the same token, I'm like, I can't say that I'm like a Celica fan. I'm not obsessed with that, you know, and it goes back to a portion of my personality. I'm like, I'm not obsessed with cars from the image perspective. Like, I don't know who I told a girlfriend at the time, my wife, I was like, I'm a car guy, but I'm not your typical car guy. And it was online dating. And so I put on my online dating profile. I was like, yeah, I'm a car guy. And if you're a car girl, I'm not interested. You know, I'm not the kind of car guy that goes to car shows and gets pulled over other cars and says, I want this. I'm the kind of car guy that reads an article in Engineering Magazine about what they developed and how they got the F1 motor to spin 21,000 RPM. Like, it's a 6-page article.
Yeah.
There's 2 pictures. Like, that's what I read. Like, that's pretty much all I read. I'm not really into a lot of other reading. I was like, but that's the kind of car guy I am. My walls are not covered with car memorabilia. They're not. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's the same thing, you know. It's not. My house looks like a house, you know. Yeah. If anything, is maybe a little cluttered, but you know. Yeah. But you know, I'm not surrounded by car stuff. I like the engineering behind it, and I like the engines behind it, and then the concept of the knowledge it takes to get there, and the results of putting all that together and applying it, you know. So I'm not really. I like the Cobra because as a kid I did see the Cobra, but as I've grown to understand the design and engineering, that's how I ended up with the JBL one, because it's engineered to actually drive. Yeah. It's not just made to look cool and had a big motor shoved in it. Yeah. You know, it actually was meant to go. You know, the Capri was also designed to do that, but with an old school image, and they had to modify the image to look functional, to be functional. It looks functional, and that to me is cool. That's why it appeals to me so much, you know. So I can't say that I have a third car, because I won't say that I really care about what I drive on the street per se. I mean, I do, but I don't, you know. And I mean, you know, I drove a Beetle. I drove a Beetle, Volkswagen Beetle for years because it got 50 miles per gallon. Yeah. Like, you know, I have an hour commute, so I really don't care, because if I do care about it, it's going to get trashed. Yeah. And I hate that. You know, that's why I quit driving my old E30. You know, it gets trashed. And so I just don't care what I drive on the street right now. Yeah. You know, if I just drove locally, like me,
I got a fucking 8-mile commute. Yeah.
Yeah. If I had a short commute again, maybe I'd care a little more, because then it wouldn't be a commuter car. It would be a car I commute in, but
I think the other side of that, now I'm going to play the devil's advocate. You spend so much time in a car, maybe you should fucking have something cool. I don't. Yeah.
And I've thought about that. You know, I hate to say that this Mini Cooper is that, but you know, the inside of the car is the part you sit in, and that's why I quit driving the Beetle. Yeah. It was just hard to do, because the car cost me $300, It owed me nothing. It never cost me shit. I mean, I needed to buy tires for it, and that was the like,
Change
all right,
oil.
I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, but it just, the car gave no care, no nothing. It just changed the oil. You know, I need to put tires and brakes on it, and that's all I did.
And really, that's the legacy of the Beetle. Like,
And this was a diesel,
Yeah.
LH Beetle, 1.9 Beetle, and it was a manual. So I mean, you can't spend any money on it.
Yeah.
But the interior was just garbage. Like every Volkswagen interior from 1990 to now, they fall apart, and it's all sticky, and I just got tired of it. And because that's the part, like you said, I sit in a car so long, and that's what made me buy the Mini Cooper, not because it's a great interior, but because at least it doesn't fall apart, and it's cheap, and it gets good gas mileage.
My hour and generally an hour and a half commute from where I lived in Magnolia, Texas, down to Samtec. I chose my 73 Chevy Love for that commute. Did not get great gas mileage because I left the 456 rear gear in it, supercharged V6 with a 5-speed manual. But there's so much street racing, even in traffic. Like there's just little bursts of street racing. You can line up at any given moment in Houston, dude. So I had to have something that was at least worth its salt in a random street race. And that little 1,800-pound truck or whatever it weighs, I don't know, it's tiny. It was good. It was good in all situations.
I mean, it'll get you in trouble, and that was the other reason why. Is I definitely got my fair share of tickets. To be honest, I actually got all the tickets in the Beetle. Because I mean, you just don't care anymore, and you just leave your foot to the floor.
Yeah.
And you're, all right, I am doing 95, which is top speed for this car, but you know. So, but yeah, I mean, that is one thing that keeps me from getting anything too ridiculous, because it would. I would.
Well, that was a good thing about the 456 gear. Like it
ends at 110.
Yeah, a little more, but not much. So anybody that I raced that had a factory speed limiter still on, like anybody that wasn't tuned in Houston, it was a done deal, dude. I could get them. I didn't give a shit what the car was, because most factory speed limiters are 105 to 120.
Yeah.
And that thing would max out about 130, 127, 130, depending. Like just every now and then I'd bump the limiter up a little bit. I'm like, I think I'm probably hitting valve float. I don't know. But that, for whatever reason, dude, just because I spent so much time in traffic, I put that thing together. I started building it here, moved to Houston, put it together, finished putting it together there, put it on the road there. And that was my daily and shit Houston traffic. No heat, no AC, no carpet, no headliner, just gutted Chevy Love with a 3800 in it.
I mean, I would say that if I was really had to pick a third car, it'd have to be another Crown Vic. I would love to do that again and do it all the way. You know, you don't want to be sentimental and be like, oh, I want my original car. I'm like,
did they ever do a 2-door Crown Vic like they did a Caprice?
Yes, he definitely did 2-door Crown Vics, and I would want to get a 2-door.
Yeah,
I would want to get a 2-door.
I really would like a 2-door Caprice.
Yeah,
I took my driver's test, like I said.
They did do a 2-door Caprice. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Rico and James sent them to me on Marketplace like 3 or 4 times a year. Like here's one for sale. I can't do this right now. I got so much shit going on, man. But I've talked about ditching. Rico has said that the 2012 Caprice is mine whenever I want it, 11, 12, whatever it is. And I'm like, what if I don't do that?
Yeah.
What if I put my stupid solid roller 408 TR6060 set up in a 88 2-door Caprice?
Yeah. I would love it. I would love it.
I mean, that's kind of where my heart is, dude. Like, I don't love the new Caprice. I've always wanted one.
Yeah.
And just because they're just a big fucking V8 sedan, like they're big.
And there's something about the older ones too, because generationally wise, like in the Crown Vic world, it's a Panther chassis.
Yeah.
The longest running chassis in America.
Yeah.
But the first generation, the box body, not the aero body and not the modern one, first generation is where my heart's at on it. I will argue that the later one, the one from 2000 up, was definitely probably the best looking one. It was actually a really the last generation
Yeah.
police cop car. It was a pretty good looking sedan.
Yeah,
you know.
they streamlined it. And
Yeah, it
whatever.
looked decent, you know. But I would definitely want to do the original box body.
They're so mean, like laid out low.
Yeah,
Some fat tires all the way around.
yeah. That Crown
A
Vic,
2-door stick shift one would be easy.
that Crown Vic with no modifications to the fender wells or anything, it would fit 335s all the way around.
No shit.
No modification.
Does anybody else out there know this? I didn't fucking know this.
That's some random knowledge you would never need to know.
Why can I turn harder than the cops chasing me? Because I got 335s on me.
Everywhere.
Can you get enough brake on a Crown Vic to stop a tire?
I mean, at that point, you do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny because it is a Crown Vic and it's Grandpa's car.
Yeah.
Same thing with a Caprice, but you know, unlike most of your cars, it's a big car, so it's a double AR in front suspension.
Yeah,
You know, that's as good as it gets for
It is.
anything. Period.
is.
Is a double ARM suspension.
Yep.
You know, so you've got the right suspension up front. It's fixing the back. You know, and I had grandeur dreams of one day doing an IRS swap in there and converting it over
the Cobra rear end.
and bolt in.
Yeah.
The Cobra rear ends bolt in to where an 8.8 was.
Yeah,
You know, so I mean, you can do IRS swaps pretty easily. You know. Yeah, so I had really thought about it. And the last generation Crown Vic was a 4-link Watt setup.
yeah.
4-link, parallel
Those-
bar, equal length,
Those
Watts
are
length.
badass.
That's as good as it gets for a solid rear.
Yeah,
You know, so it really isn't a bad chassis per se, you know.
No.
It's a little fat.
it's how you make
It's a little fat.
it's how you make an
Yeah.
F-150 go around a turn.
Yeah. You know, but it's
Crown
what's,
Vic chassis.
what's really neat is, like I said, the oldest generations were 3,700 pounds. So yeah, that's fat in like performance car world, but in giant sedan world, that's a lightweight.
We
Most of them are-
like disco around here, dude.
Yeah. So most of your like heavy cars are 4,500 and up. You know, your Caprice is over 4,000 every model, every single model.
The Challengers, the Chargers.
Yeah, they're all over 4,000.
Yeah.
Even modern Mustangs over 4,000. You know, but that first generation was, if you get a sort of base model, you're in the 3,700 pound range out the box.
And if you get a 2-door and you
You
some
can get it even
reasonable-
lighter, yeah. And that would, like you said, that was fully dressed. I still had all the interior. I had an aftermarket amplifier, aftermarket speakers. Like I was still a kid in college. Like it was not a stripped out race car, and it weighed 3,700 pounds with I'll mind you, the trailer receiver on it.
We're gonna have to do like dueling boxes one day or something, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get my 2-door Caprice.
But the
James sent me one for sale. I don't know, man. A couple months ago, up in Richmond, an Aeroback Coupe 2-door Caprice that had like the NASCAR back glass, which I didn't even know they did to the Caprices. I knew they did.
I had no idea.
I've seen it on the Monte Carlos and shit, but hadn't seen one on a Caprice. I should have went and got it because I was like, I'll never fucking see one of those again. You know?
Yeah.
Like that was the one to drop my 408 and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that would probably be number 3 if I were to really nail one out there. It'd probably be do another box body Crown Vic 2-door. Much better engine than a stock 5-liter.
Yeah.
And a much better transmission.
Would you stay forward power plant?
Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah.
I don't see any. Well, no, I take that back. I mean, I would love to stay Ford power plant, but I really can't justify the money it takes to buy a pushrod aluminum block.
Yeah. And
That's the whole.
an aluminum dart 5-liter base block.
It's awesome, but it's so
we
much.
we were talking like if you hit the Mega Millions.
Yeah. I would if no money, no object. Yeah, I would just buy an aluminum block,
Yeah.
aluminum Windsor block, and have a field day with it. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah. I see no advantage. Money, no object. Money and object. You know, I'm not a Chevy guy. I was raised a Ford guy, but LS there is no comparison.
There's
There's really not. There's nothing else out
especially
there.
for like the simplicity, still push rod, all that
Yeah,
kind of shit. Yeah.
Push rod, aluminum, reliable, decent power. Like you really can't beat it.
Yeah.
There's no alternative. So you can be personal about it all you want, but there really is no alternative.
Is there any hope for a Johnnie Lackey return to drifting? Have you looked at doing any of the local events or something?
I want to do another drift event with the Celica. I'm not I don't know that I'll build a drift car because I never did before. I always just tracked.
Drifted what you had.
I tracked the tow vehicle and the race car.
Right, yeah. Fucking
That's what I drifted.
yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
So I won't build a car for it, but it is a blast. And I actually, my hope was actually to get back there this year and do another one. I would really like to do it because it's so much fun. The drift events that I've gone to, what I can tell you, people that have never gone to a drift event, they look at it as a bunch of fucking pot smoking hippies,
Fucking
hooligans,
Yeah.
blah blah. And I'm like,
tearing up cars, tearing up tires.
yeah, and I'm like,
Can't drive in a straight line.
you go to an autocross, and this we're gonna profile here, so you guys might not like this. You go to an autocross, and you have a bunch of people that don't know what they're talking about, that want to talk about it and analyze it for the next 17 years. They spent 30 seconds driving a car, and then they will analyze the shit out of it for the rest of their lives before they just get back in the car and drive again.
Yeah.
And you go to a track weekend, and there's a lot of people there to have fun and just drive, but there's a lot of people there that are just there to measure their dick.
Yes.
That's what they're there for, to just lay out their financial world and be like, look what I got.
The guy that shows up in the toter home with a 53-foot stacker trailer and he pulls his $19,000 golf cart off.
Yeah. And not to say that, some people haven't just made it and are still just regular people. They're still out there too.
Yeah,
so not every toter home is that. But yes, there are a lot of people that just go there.
They warm up the car 8 times.
Yes.
They do fucking 5 laps.
That show up with their Viper are there to show off.
Yeah.
It's just straight up. Yeah. Which is sad because the Viper is the only real driver sports car.
That is the only real hand-built American sports car.
Is the Viper?
The Viper, dude. I love the Corvette,
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a fucking hand-built car. The Viper was.
Which you hid very well, because I never saw the joints.
The camera doesn't point that low. One day you'll get to see my Corvette. It's real. It's not just in my imagination. I really have one. Actually, I have 2 Corvettes. I don't drive either one of them.
I would love to see it one day. But, yeah, I mean, when you go to those events, you see the autocross, they just want to analyze the shit out of everything. You go to a track weekend, there's a good portion of people there that are just there to show off. But when you go to a drift event, everybody there is there to have a good time. And I don't think the people that haven't gone don't appreciate that. When you go to an event and if they are high, I don't really care, because the thing about them wanting to have a good time is a portion of what every drifter wants is for you to have a good time, which is mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's weird, but you go there and it's like, if you have a good time, if you go out there and you kick it sideways and you do awesome, you come back, you don't know how amped those people are that you're amped. And it's crazy. I've never been in an environment that was more purely everybody have a good time.
Yeah.
We want everybody to have fun. And if you're having fun, that means we're having fun. And I'm just like, you can't go to an event, any type of event.
It's weird for like groupthink or hive mind to actually be positive.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. That's what it is. Yeah. It's not as self-centered.
When there's positive groupthink.
Yeah.
And then like that kind of spreads and like you get involved with that. It's kind of shocking. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's very refreshing.
where people were like, dude, you came into that, I take that. I come into that like 70 degrees. You came in there 110 degrees.
Yeah.
Like you came in so you're almost backwards. So now I know I can go out there. I can hit that turn harder. I can go in just as hard. I can go in just as sideways. Like those guys, they are different. They are.
It's exactly what you said is perfect, because at the racetrack and going to VIR, I've had people come up to me in my Crown Vic and be like, how much power are you making this thing? And I'm like, 195. Like, oh no, you're lying. And they straight up
to the back wheel.
Yeah. And they straight up like, no, you're lying, because they're upset that you had a good time out there.
Yeah.
But when you go to the drift event and like you said, they come up to you and the first thing they say is they're not trying to find out how much better your equipment is. They're like, they straight up come to you and the first thing they say is basically like, you did awesome. It's a compliment.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy, but that's most most drift events are like that. They're filled with people like that, and it's amazing.
It's intoxicating when you see somebody go out and handle a car like that. Just
do stuff.
Do
with
all
it.
the shit that your whole life you've been taught cars are not supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's intoxicating to see somebody maintain control that is out of control.
Yep.
You know, and it really fuels the whole crowd when they see somebody successfully go out there and kind of top themselves. You know, like they've went out there and they've just done this disgusting run.
Yeah.
The whole crowd gets behind it, whether that's the team you're there with or not. Like everybody at a drift event, like just gets behind something over the top. If somebody goes out and sets down a disgusting lap time, or a road race event,
you always get animosity for it.
yeah,
Always get
he's
animosity
probably
for it.
cheating.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
He's got a ton of power.
Yeah.
Whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. You get animosity for it.
People start throwing in the qualifiers immediately. Like they don't get behind the guy.
Yeah.
Not very often.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a few that I've seen that maybe you introduced me to him. Who was it? Mike Skeen.
I know Mike Skeen through Scott McGirt.
Yeah.
Yep.
You didn't
Scott
introduce
McGirt worked with him at Abacus.
at Abacus, yeah.
Yep.
But I'm surprised. And it's nice to see, but I'm surprised the amount of support he gets, because he's made it.
Yeah.
Generally, you see people, want to bring people back down to their level.
He made it from Spec E30.
Right.
From Spec E30.
Right. So it's cool to see a large crowd, especially locally, get behind that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know him. I've only spoke to him at VOR one fucking time.
I've actually never met the guy.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't you.
No, it wasn't me.
Maybe Tim McCulley. Maybe
Tim would probably know him.
Maybe Tim. He was out there helping some guys with a Viper. He wasn't driving it. He was instructing a guy. Funny you bring up Vipers. But yeah, Mike was out there. He was
that might be on the list. Viper might be on the list. Pre-2011, no ABS.
Yeah.
None of this nannies.
That is
the last man car.
That is a raw fucking sports
The
car.
last man car. The only American car that said 8 liters. We need more. Let's make it 8.4.
Yeah. 8.4, no ABS. Just.
Yeah.
You can still get those with the side pipes, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just.
No nannies. No nannies is the one thing about them cars that have always been amazing to me. Because every car I've driven has no nannies.
Judson that owns Samtec, he's got a Viper, and he went in to see his being built. He was like, I thought it was going to be like the Corvette plant or whatever. He's like, nah, it's a bunch of hot rodders in a warehouse. And he's like, GM's got this huge, giant high pressure washer that tests the Corvette for leaks. They've got a guy that puts a face shield down, and he's got a pressure washer going around the Viper. and one of the other guys, the guy that just put the wheels on the car, sitting in it, checking for leaks. He's like, this thing is hand built by hot rodders. Guys that absolutely love this car.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He's like, and it's not this giant perfected assembly line process. It's just there's a guy dropping a motor in.
Yeah.
This guy's putting the Targa on.
That might be one of the cars on the list because I would like to drive one of those cars on the track one day and just be like, this is what it's like to drive ridiculous America.
Yeah.
America, ridiculous.
They are brutal from 3,000 RPM up.
Yep.
They're
it only goes to 6.5, but
stock. Yeah.
When you watch videos of Vipers on track, it's ridiculous because you sound like, when are they ever going to rev it out? It always sounds like it's just cruising to the grocery store. It never sounds like that motor's working. Right. Never. It always sounds like it's maybe hitting 4,000 RPM. It's so ridiculous.
I have to keep that in mind next time I watch some Viper videos.
Yeah,
that's true. It's when you watch the vet videos, the Z06 videos, man, they bring those things out.
Yeah.
So, what's the next step, racing wise? Are you gonna dip your toe in the spec either? Do you think you're going to make a real push for it?
I'll tell you what, I've almost been discouraged as the more I get exposed to it, the more what I see.
Just the spec E30 stuff, or
racing in general, even spec E30. Like, I know that it might be sounding dry, but from the financial standpoint of it, it's like the people that race, like it's a phenomenal amount of money.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal amounts of money, and I'm like,
you're not independently wealthy.
I'm not independently wealthy. I don't have 3 successful businesses. I didn't make it great on the stock market, so I just, I get discouraged from the financial standpoint.
I thought we were going to take a look at your crypto portfolio or something.
I get discouraged with that, and I'm just like, the reality is like there's a budget limit.
Yeah.
And it's not. I don't want to say that there's necessarily a budget limit as far as actual budget limit, but there's a budget and a time limit.
Yeah.
And the less time you have, the more your budget has to be. And that's part of where I'm at. I'm like,
it's an awful sliding scale.
Very, very much so. And it's very exponential towards the cost.
Yeah.
If your time budget goes down, your cost goes way up.
Yeah.
It's, you do it yourself and you can do it fairly cheap, but you need to give up everything, and I've got a wife that I want to spend time with, and I got a job that does demand hours, and unfortunately I'm an hour away from it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all these things kind of factor in, and I think, to be honest, like you said, my competitive spirit has been more with myself. And when I see somebody go faster, I'm like, I want to go faster because that means I can.
Yeah.
Not because I don't ever think like I need to beat them. And I think because of that, it's
a different thing when you can see somebody and say, if they can go faster, I can go faster, versus I have to be fast enough to beat them. Like, there's 2 different mindsets, man.
I'll agree with that because I don't really care. It doesn't hurt me that somebody's faster.
Yeah.
It like you said, it kind of enlightens me to be like, oh, well, it means I got something to do. Yeah. But I will say, if I were to do anything, I would want to put more effort into doing this endurance racing, which is a little more budget because you're not competing. And that's it's weird to say that because you are competing.
Yeah.
But you're
not chasing points.
You're not, but
you're not chasing standing.
When you're in a sanctioned race and you have a class of a car and you're within the rules, to be within the rules, you need to be at the very edge of that box.
Yeah.
If you are 3% off the edge of that box, you are 20% away from winning.
Yeah. You're not competitive.
Yeah. And so with Spec E30, and the same thing with Spec Miata.
And if you're not rich and you're going out there and you're not being competitive,
you're not going to make it.
Yeah,
you're not going to make it.
That's not going to equal shit.
Yeah. I mean, you might get lucky and you might have a good setup and you might be a good driver and maybe it can happen. But the reality is you need to dedicate either a lot of money and time or a whole lot of time. And I don't really have the ability to dedicate one of those 2.
Yeah.
And maybe 7 years ago I might have, but that's not the case now, So, and I'm okay with that. I'm not upset with it or anything, So,
I just want to know, like, is there plans?
So I would like to do endurance racing because that's the other thing I found too, is that the first time I did a 24-hour race, actually, I think it was this race.
I was talking about these today, these 24-hour races with one of my customers got a vet.
Yeah.
He's like, what's the point of that? Like, I don't know. You don't understand like the cruelty that is rewarding,
And I would love to actually finish one. It would be nice because I haven't successfully finished.
I told him that's goal 1. He's like, how do you win? I was like, you finish.
Yeah.
You have a car and a crew that can finish. Like that is winning.
Yep. So, I mean, I would like to finish one of these 24 hours. I've only done 2, and we've had one that mechanical failured out. And I'll be honest, we could have fixed it. But that was one hell of a ramp up to the race.
Yeah.
That was my first ever endurance race with a group called Brickhouse Racing. And the car had been crashed 2 months prior to the event.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, the car's totaled. I don't know if we'll have a car for the event. And this is my first time ever doing it. I paid to sign up and run with this team that I didn't know anybody about. And they totaled the car. But he's like, oh, I got a donor. And it kept getting closer and closer. And he was like, we should make it. It's going to be tight. We could use some help. And he's like, well, we might not make it. This is a week of. We might not make it. Week of VIR 24-hour race. We might not make it. And I was like, okay. I was like, look, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take off Wednesday through Friday. I was like, the race is Saturday, Sunday. I'm gonna take off Wednesday through Friday. I will leave work on Tuesday, go to your house, and we can finish working on the car and we can get it done. I work on BMWs. Granted, we don't see a lot of E30s, but I work on them. I know what these are. So I can hammer through this real quick. So I left work, I got a house, and it was like 6 o'clock. And I leave and I drive down to North Carolina, Greensboro, I think it was. And it was like 10 o'clock when I get there. And I was so looking forward to some rest because, I was still in a mechanic position, so I was pretty tired.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this will be great. I'm going to get some sleep. I'm going to pass out. I don't care what bed because I'll sleep anywhere. But I'm going to sleep. I'm going to wake up in the morning. We're going to hammer down in this car. And so I get there, and it's a pretty nice neighborhood. I'm impressed. This dude, I will say that. This dude purely did this on a budget. This was like the wife wouldn't give him a budget, so this is what he did, and he did it on a budget. He's in a nice neighborhood, which I'm sure his neighbors hated. Yeah. But I walked up the driveway, and I was like, oh, my God. The roof of the car is cut off. And I walk up and all I see is the roof sitting in the driveway. The roof is sitting in the driveway and I'm like, oh, that's not good. This is Tuesday night, green flag in 4 days. I was like, this is not good. And I walk in there and the roll cage is now in it. And there is a chassis sitting on jack stands. And when I say a chassis, I mean a bare BMW E30 chassis. No rear subframe, no front subframe, no engine trans wiring, no lights, no interior, no steering column. This is a 100% bare chassis that now has a cage in it. They just finished putting the cage in after cutting the roof off. I was like, holy shit. I was like, I am not getting any sleep.
Yeah.
So, very amateur group of guys. It was just him and his son. And that's why he did this, to spend time with his son. So props to him. Doing what you really want to do is spend time with your son. And so I was like, all right, here we go. Yeah. And so I started working. And we put the windshield in it at 7 o'clock on Friday. 7 o'clock on Friday, we had everything in it. Engine, drivetrain, diff, all of it. Electrical done, lights, hood on, roof back welded to it. Set the glass in at 7 o'clock. Drove it up and down the neighborhood street and put it on the trailer. And drove there, and it was a very, very sketchy drive there. There were many a times where I do not remember that last 2 miles because I was so tired. Damn. And I am very bad about falling asleep behind the wheel.
Damn.
Very bad. So yeah, that was the roughest part of the weekend is driving to it. That was the most dangerous part of the weekend as well. I will say that the most dangerous was driving to the track. We actually did have a running car. We could have gone green flag right off the bat, but he was like, we're all tired. We'll just take it easy. We'll just go out 10 minutes after green. And so we went out 10 minutes after green, and he was like, since you did all the work, because I showed up and was like since I was familiar with the cars and I did a lot of work and it's just the only car they've ever worked on. I really hammered at it.
Yeah.
And they were like, since you did all the work and we wouldn't have got it done without you, you're first. And I'm like,
I want to be third.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, and to add insult to injury, it is torrential downpour. Torrential. So my first wheel-to-wheel race, torrential downpour.
The rain's just hammering you to sleep.
3 days straight working, no sleep, tired as hell, and I'm responsible for getting this car back in here in 2 hours. Holy shit, dude. Yeah. Like, I was not really excited about that at all. And I will tell you, it did not let up raining the entire time. And the car was almost gone. At one point in time, I went into turn 3, I guess it is. NASCAR turns, what they call it, VIR.
Yeah.
Where you're staring at the concession stands in a hydroplane, and we're not going fast because it is torrential. I have one wiper blade that really just leaves more rubber on the windshield than wipes water. It's doing a burnout on the windshield the whole time. And it just hydroplaned, and I was just doing nothing. I'm not going that fast, but it just went off, and I'm like, still hydroplaned. I'm in the grass. Like, I got nothing. Like, it's going to hit that wall. It's going to take 20 seconds, but I'm going to hit that wall. was like, this sucks, you know? And then it ran into this giant puddle, and the puddle just like hydro braked it. And I was like, don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. And I just like kept going. I was like, go, don't get stuck. So I made it out of there. And later on I found out they were in the concession stand and they were watching me.
Like, here it comes.
Here it is. He's going to hit the wall.
Yeah. Just in slow motion. Like ballet music playing in their head.
So I got out of that without getting stuck and finished it. And I got out of the car and I remember him asking me, I was like, how was that? I was like, I survived.
You're fucking
like,
miserable.
Yeah. I was like, that was not, I won't say it was bad, but it was not fun.
Yeah.
Because it was just so much rain. It was so bad. All the media that was covering it, every professional camera was damaged. The whole rest of the event was covered with cell phone footage from all the professionals at the event.
Damn.
It was so bad. The rain was unbelievable how hard it was. But my second session was going into night, and it was still raining, but it wasn't like super heavy. It was kind of light rain. And so, and by the way, to add to this extreme situation, because it couldn't get more extreme.
Right.
There were 115 cars in the starting field.
Holy shit. I thought they started like 30, 35 cars.
115 cars is what I was out there with.
Wow.
So I remember the first time.
So by your second session, how many were there?
Oh, they were still over 100.
Wow.
It's amazing how, I mean, those guys are pretty well sorted, you know. But I remember the first time the Enterprise passed me. It was like a 79 LTD with a big block Ford in it. And I was just tootling along, and he's on the straight there and just pure V8 side pipe. Like, holy shit.
I'm alive. I'm alive.
Yeah, that woke me up, buddy. But so that was my foray into diving into it. But my second session was at night, and it was dark, and it was still raining. And I'm like, all right, I'm settling down, getting in. I go out for a couple of laps, and I'm like, there's actually a dry line out here. Like, we can go. I was like, all right, cool. Let's go. Let's have some fun. Like, I literally in my head, I was like, all right, it's go time. So I hammered down, and I just went for it. Had some fun. I went out there, and I was passing, and I remember passing this yellow car. It's a yellow MR2. Bill Strong, I think, was driving it. And, or I don't know if he was driving it at that time. It was his car. Yeah. So I don't think he was driving it, but I passed it, and I was like, that's sweet. I think that guy's in like second or third place. So I passed him, and you know, we're laps down or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're not really competing for that position. And, so I passed him. I was
But
like,
you're keeping pace.
Yeah.
More better.
Yeah. So I passed him, and I was like, this is cool, man. It's cool. I'm racing for a while. And then it occurred to me after a while, and I want to say this was like over an hour in. You know, I sat there and I thought to myself, and I said, going down the back straightaway, I was like, I don't think anybody's passed me in an hour. I think I've only passed cars in an hour. And then I saw that yellow MR2 again.
Like, now I've lapped him.
And I've lapped him. I was like, and I don't know if he pitted or not, but I was like, I haven't let anybody pass me. I was like, I must be doing pretty good. You know? So I finished my session. The gas light came on. I ignored that. Started on. Then I came in. And that's what he said. He said, the light will come on. Know you're getting low. When it starts running out in corners, you need to come in.
Yeah.
So he came in. We didn't have a radio or anything. So it was just come in. And
yeah.
He was expecting 2 hours, and I didn't make it 2 hours. He was like, the car always lasts 2 hours. And I made it like an hour and 50 in the rain. And that was it. It was out of gas. Yeah. And so they weren't expecting me to get back. And I get back and And then he's like helping me out of the car, and I'm helping him get in. And I remember while I was getting him in, I was like, did you see, how was I doing? And the guy was helping get in the car. He's like, basically fast as fuck. I was like, oh, okay. I did good. All right, 10 forward.
Go get him.
And so, I had signed up for that event. The Celica was like in this 3-week transition from cage to going to the next track weekend. Yeah. And I said, signing up for more events. And the Celica sat there for a couple more years. So I signed up for a bunch more events, and I got hooked on that. So I would love to do more endurance racing. I'm actually signed up to do one with Daniel Tripp and Jason Tripp end of this month. So June 1st, June 2nd, we're doing two 8-hour races at VIR. So I'm excited to get back on do
What's
that.
the car?
It's E46.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty well prepared, it looks like. He's done a lot of good work to it. focused on the right things for a track car.
Two 8-hour same weekend, or
Yeah.
so it's like a Friday Saturday deal.
Yeah, we'll do Friday. We'll do practice and we do qualifying. It's my first time racing with AER, so I think they do like team qualifying where every driver has to run laps. And then I think they take your best lap times for all the drivers and average that, and so that's how they like kind of figure out your placing position per se.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's 2 separate 8-hour races, Saturday and Sunday.
How'd you wind up part of this?
Danielle Tripp is actually one of the people I instructed years ago when she had a black Mustang with some pink racing stripes.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think we should end this off with a bukkake shot, man.
I'm down.
I'm left-handed.
Shot cock.
I poured the other 2, so I'm going to leave this to you.
I don't know if that's true, but okay. I poured the last one.
Oh, okay, maybe you did. Maybe I don't remember it.
Go a little lighter on this one.
Yeah. Just a little.
Yeah. Dude, it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank
I learned
you.
a lot about you, surprisingly. I talked to you a lot. It's never bad. It never has a definitive flavor, but
It's weird. It really doesn't have one.
it doesn't taste like anything.
It didn't. It didn't taste like anything. The first round was actually, I think it was pretty good, but this one is just kind of, it's not bad. Like you said, not bad.
It's just, it always turns into something that's not something. I don't know if that fucking makes any sense. All right, man, let's call it.
All right, we'll call it. That's 3 hours.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mino.
That's 3.5 hours.
Oh, yeah.